go. So I can see me. Adam, say something.
What's up?
There we go. Adam's on it. Ready to do this?
Ready to do this.
Why the fuck not, right? I've only had 2 beers and you've had some red wine. Shit happens, right?
I've had like 2 glasses of wine. I think we're good to go.
We're good to go. Got to be a little bit loose. All right, everybody out there in internet land. I am Justin Woods, and this is the Woods Cast. With me right now is my buddy Adam. What's going on, Adam?
What's going on, Justin?
Well, we've been shooting the shit for about 40 minutes now, and the other host of the Woods Cast, my brother, my idiot brother, he's running late because he does not know how to work a clock. So we decided, since Adam actually has a real job and has to actually get up and go to work at a specific time, not, when I'm supposed to be in the lab, when the fuck ever. So we're going to talk to Adam for a while. He's got some things he wants to rant about. I've got some things I want him to rant about. And then Shay will probably pop on here later, probably high as fuck, if I know my brother. And we'll discuss some more fun stuff, all the shows that probably Adam hasn't seen. But that's the plan. Hope everybody enjoys it. I haven't out. What's that?
Eventually, I was going to say, eventually your entertainment agenda is going to hit a movie or a show that I've seen, and then y'all aren't going to be ready for it.
yeah. You're just going to come out of nowhere with a very deep, like a deep dive on the third Terminator from here on out, and we'll be like, what? Or the fucking Critters reboot or something. Just blow us out of the water. Okay. So,
please tell me there's not actually a Critters reboot.
Oh yeah, dude. It's already in production. Yeah.
Okay, well, go on.
Well, that's one of those things where people are like, or at least I don't know if people are, but I am constantly asking, who the fuck asked for this? Like, who the fuck decided this was a thing we needed to do? I'm actually kind of pissed. Like Rachel and I talked about it last night. I'm kind of pissed about the fucking Aladdin redo. Like, who the fuck needed a new Aladdin with a blue Will Smith?
The thing is, Aladdin is one of those movies that was done perfectly the first time.
Right.
Like if anybody, I mean, God forbid, if anybody said, you know what, we should remake Gone with the Wind, they should be shot because Gone with the Wind was perfect the first time.
I can see that. I can see some, and there's a lot of I feel your resentment for a lot of these reboots, but then you'll have the ones that are just knocked out of the park. Like, I don't know if you consider was it 2012 Godzilla a reboot or just a continuation of Godzilla, but it seemed pretty rebooted. And
I don't know. I saw it. It was enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's okay. So what are we going to talk about? So with Adam, of course, Shay taps in here. We're going to talk about probably some polling. I want to talk about some Adam Jones nonsense where they're red pilling little kids, which is fucking weird.
You mean Alex Jones? Don't give him my name.
I said Alec. I said Alex.
You said Adam Jones.
No, I didn't. I did not. Don't. Well, that's a Freudian. That's in your head. So that's something you got to deal with.
We're gonna listen to the recording, and I'm gonna be right.
All right, whatever. I'm the one editing this, right?
If you edit it out, I will be offended.
Yeah, all right. Let me just check on what the time is to make sure that disappears. All right, cool. So edit out Adam Jones at 3:50. All right. Okay. No. So there's this weird thing that's going on the Alex Jones. He's trying to make himself relevant with a 14-year-old girl who's apparently a super conservative. It's icky. And then I have some questions that probably you would weigh in more on than Shay about basically the Trump and Democrats investigating the investigators and what the fuck are they investigating is kind of shaping up into a really weird separate world right now. So that's what, and then Shay's going to tap in and we're going to talk about a bunch of CW shows that I don't think Adam's paid attention to. So we're really dividing this correctly. All right, so the weekly numbers. So we're recording this. It's Thursday, May 23rd. I'm on my second beer. Adam's had like three glasses of red wine. It is the 853rd day of the Trump administration. North Korea has been totally nukeless for about 345 days now. there have been 3,335 Q drops. Adam, I hope you pay attention to that shit.
Q drops? What's a Q drop?
You know QAnon?
Oh, unfortunately. Yeah, I know that's the Q you were referring to.
Yeah, there's an app you can get on your phone that like has them all categorized, and you can search through them, and it's the funniest fucking thing ever. Like most of them are just numbers. Like he'll just post a 6-digit number, and everybody's like, "What does this mean?" Like it means you guys are idiots.
So what I like to compare the QAnon phenomenon to is, and the name of the sect is escaping me, but it was back in the late 1800s. This branch, like fringe religious sect, that thought that they had figured out like the date that of the second coming of Judgment Day, and the people who were adherents to this sect like sold all of their property and like waited out on their lawn for Judgment Day to happen. And then when it didn't, they were like, well, fuck. Because now they sold all their possessions, they gave all their money away. Like, what are they going to do now?
Oh, no, yeah. And no, I know, I've read about that. And then that same kind of trope happened like in the late 80s, but it was a weird cult that did the same thing. Like, they sold all their possessions. I don't think it was the Haley Bob people, but it might have been.
No, it was I now remember the name of the sect. It was the Millerites. The Millerites in the late 1800s that thought the world was going to end. Well, anyway, so I know they probably didn't sell all their possessions, but the QAnon people were like, it's going to happen. It's going to drop. Trump and Mueller are going to announce their alliance, and they're going to arrest all the Democrats. And then Mueller reports out. Hold on.
Like, pedophile Democrats.
Excuse me, I didn't clarify enough. But
yeah.
Now the Mueller reports out, and like, what happened to all the QAnon people? Have they admitted that they were wrong, or did they just all go away quietly?
No, actually, they it's really interesting, and I didn't really kind of put this in the rundown, but like, I love talking about this because it's so goddamn ridiculous. The interesting part is the real hucksters, the people that are there just to sell books and sell monetize YouTube videos. They're still there, just churning this shit out. Just for everybody's reference, we're doing this, like I said, on the 23rd of May. The last Q drop, quote unquote, was a literal 6-digit number. Let me bring it up on my phone. Was a 6-digit number on May 12th. So like, these people still churn out these fucking videos. Yeah. So all right. I was just made a liar. I just updated. There were three or four Q drops today. Whatever. All right, but the last...
You were already a liar.
Huh?
Said fake news, you were already a liar.
Yeah. And the shitty part is like, Q made me a liar. That's how shitty this is. So apparently there were like, I don't know, 8 Q drops or whatever. So there's 3,343 Q drops right now. As of 9:07 p.m. my time. And the last one is just a 7-digit code. It's 6572785. Like, these people will sit there and decode that number for the next fucking 14 days until there's another drop like that. And the real hucksters don't stop. They don't care. They'll go back and they'll go forward and they'll just rehash this shit. A couple of the people that I've like, I don't follow them on YouTube, but like when their videos pop up, I'll listen to a couple minutes to see how absolutely batshit crazy they are. Like they're getting frustrated. They're like, you know, we've been waiting for them to arrest all the Democrats that are pedophiles, but it's just not happening. Like, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, well, what's going on is you're insane. Yeah. I just noticed that you're in your pajamas.
I am in my pajamas.
All right. I much respect.
Hey, I told you my air conditioner broke. I am not, like, in a position to be in my usual, like, flannel and jeans attire right now.
All right, I get it. All right, so polling, and I used to bring this up because it was important to notice how popular or unpopular Donald Trump is, but these numbers aren't going fucking anywhere. Gallup has him at 42%, 538, 41.2. Real Clear Politics, which is supposed to be the more conservative leaning aggregate, 42.9. Donald Trump is negative double digits in every poll I'm looking at. So, and that's since the Mueller report dropped.
He has never been over 50%.
No.
I don't think it's possible he's never been over 45%, or at least I don't recall a poll where he was over 45%.
Gallup had him at 46% for one of their cycles, which is I think nowadays 2 weeks. He hit 46%, and it was a record in Gallup.
But so 46% was his high water mark, at least as reputable polls are concerned.
Yeah.
That's got to be concerning for re-election. I mean, granted, George W. Bush got re-elected when he was averaging at like 38% at the time.
Right.
So that's concerning, obviously. But
that was
George W.
Yeah, that was also a lot of that, like, we don't switch horses in a war bullshit.
Well, and it was a lot of John Kerry ran an uninspiring campaign.
Yes.
I mean, don't get me wrong, John Kerry was, I think, the best Secretary of State since John Foster Dulles. I think he would have been a good president, but he was not a good campaigner.
No, and I think that was also... I know we've had shitty campaigns and we've had bad campaign tactics. I mean, Karl Rove, famously, sent a bunch of homeless people to his, a rivals campaign. Like there's been some shady campaign shit for, since we've been doing campaigns. Roger Stone, of course, made himself famous being the Republican trickster, but I guess that was the first campaign I really watched shit like the Swift Boat veterans and. A picture of him windsurfing really fucking make some hay.
Well, the thing is that the windsurfing picture was originally put out by his own campaign to try and humanize him by showing him doing something recreational. The problem is it was showing him doing something recreational that is for rich people.
Oh yeah. It's a thing that like yeah. I mean, like, and then later they of course flooded the interwebs with pictures of him, hunting.
Yeah.
Which was like, okay, yeah, I get it, but then Dick Cheney literally shot a man in the face, and everybody was like, eh. But all right, so yeah, like these polls really aren't going anywhere, and I'm with you. I think there's been some polls like Rasmussen always puts him at like 50, 55%, which they're such an outlier. It's not even fucking funny. And then there's been
I haven't even seen him at 55% Rasmussen. I think that's an overestimate there.
Yeah, I think it was 51 or 52%, and of course they like shared the shit out of it on Twitter. But yeah. It's not going well for him, and he's not doing things that will improve that number, in my opinion. I mean, we could talk about when we actually have a Democratic candidate, we can talk about a little bit more detail to what the election's going to shape up as. But like right now, something like 50-something% of Donald Trump's ad revenue is just shooting at that like over 65 demographic. Like he's not trying to expand his base. He's just trying to drill down on the base and get them all out. And yeah,
I can tell you where at least, I mean, I'm not Nate Silver, but where I would, in my amateurish viewpoint, guess the real areas that Donald Trump has, the states that Donald Trump has injured himself in for 2020. Are primarily in the Southwest and the Grain Belt.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So it's well documented in polling, in cultural surveys that Hispanic Latino voters tend to skew socially conservative. They're more socially conservative than Democratic white people. And so you have a Republican voting Latino bloc. I think that the frankly aggressively anti-Latino, anti-immigrant position that Trump has taken, the Trump administration has taken, is going to cut into that block of Republican-leaning Hispanic voters, which is going to And I understand that Hispanic and Latino are not synonyms, and I
No.
have clumsily used them as synonyms here a couple of times.
One's a culture, one's an ethnicity. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's going to cut into his share that he can pull of the Latino bloc in Arizona,
Mm-hmm.
which has become a battleground state, which the Democrats actually won in the 2018 Senate race, which the Democrats have managed to recruit a pretty good Senate candidate for 2020, Mark Kelly, who is the husband of former Arizona Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords, who has been a gun control activist, and he's a former astronaut, and is frankly a pretty compelling candidate.
No, I thought that was a great reveal for him to do that.
And I mean, I think Trump's gonna have a tough time in Arizona in 2020, and also this trade war that he's escalated with China that has come down really hard on American farmers, because China is the #1 international purchaser of our agricultural products.
Right.
I think he's going to have a tough time in Iowa in 2020, which is a state he won in 2016. He'll have a tough time in Iowa. Ohio has a significant agricultural sector, and that's a state that Trump was in 2016 the first Republican to win Ohio since George W. Bush in 2004. Right. Obama won it in both 2008 and 2012.
Well, so, and just today, the Trump administration has announced that Donald Trump is going to introduce a $16 billion subsidy, I guess you'd say, or subsidy package to help those grainbelt farmers that have been just kneecapped by his stupid ass trade war with And
I don't know that that's something that grainbelt farmers are going to take to. And I haven't done a poll. I haven't gone out and surveyed Iowa farmers, but they are stereotypically, if not typically, a group of people who want to make their living selling their crops. They don't want to make their living taking a check from the government. I think they're by and large going to be offended by it.
Well, and I think you're right, and I think they're going to by and large be offended by it because these are it's cliche, but they are the salt of the earth. They relish in the fact that they make their living by the sweat off their brow, and it's an honorable tradition that usually goes back generations in their family, and some of them are going to be, if they have to take that money to keep their family farms afloat, they're not only going to be like, they're going to hate it. They're going to be very, very resentful that they had to do that because of the direct actions of the president to start some bullshit trade war with China because he thought he had the biggest balls ever. It's gonna be an interesting dynamic.
There are some other agriculture heavy states that Trump did not exactly run away with in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Chief among them being Texas. Texas is kind of a dark horse swing state lately. I mean, in 2016, Trump won Texas by 8 points, maybe between 8 and 9 points. Not a landslide. In 2018, Beto O'Rourke lost that Senate race by less than 2 points. Texas is trending blue, and if there are a lot of pissed off farmers who are mad at the Trump administration, I mean, the Republicans might be in for some trouble in Texas.
Like how much of an absolute seismic shift would that be if in the 2020 race Texas just went fucking blue? Like, that would be so weird. I wouldn't even believe it. Like, I would be right beside Sean Hannity going, bullshit. This can't be right.
Pop quiz. Who was the last Democrat to win Texas?
Oh, fuck me. I don't know. Clinton?
Jimmy Carter won Texas.
No. Really? Wow. I wouldn't have picked Jimmy Carter. That's interesting. Okay. No, there's a bunch of that shit. Another thing, like, I think just shaping up, like, we haven't talked about Democratic candidates in a while, but it looks like Biden might be is the front runner. Let's just assume that Biden takes the nomination. Pennsylvania is going to be another one, really, really hard state for Trump to win if Biden's the candidate.
Yeah, no, I think. Well, I think that no matter who the Democratic nominee is, unlikely exceptions aside, I think that Trump is going to have a tough time winning Pennsylvania this time around.
Yeah.
I think him winning Pennsylvania was a fluke in 2016. I think him winning Michigan was a fluke in 2016.
Right.
I would be extremely surprised to see either of those happen again.
Yeah, and we've talked about this like a bunch of times on the podcast with you several times. I mean, that was literally 79,000 votes spread across 3 states. Like that's a fucking paper thin margin of error for a national campaign to fuck with. So, all right, but we'll get there. We'll get to the politics stuff. I got a bunch of other questions to ask Adam while we're waiting for my time lag brother to show up. Excuse me. Game of Thrones. What you got? So this is we got 8 seasons. I meant to calculate how many minutes, but you're looking at like 13 episodes a season basically. You got about 60 minutes an episode. This last season was only 6 episodes long. Most of them kind of ran long. It's like a bunch of short movies. Like we've been here, we've done this. One of the numbers you didn't let me talk about, Adam, because we got off on some other tangents. That's fine. Nobody's paying us to do this. We do this because we're having fun. But it's been 2,872 days since George R.R. Martin published a goddamn book. So those are things we've busied ourselves with the Game of Thrones HBO show. And I know that Adam is ready to just vent about how it was meh.
Surprise! I didn't think the finale was bad.
I honestly agree with you. I don't think it was bad at all.
I think that in the world that has been created by the first 5 episodes in the season, it ended about as well as it could have. Now, we talked about on the last podcast that I was on that I had some real problems with the earlier parts of this season, namely pacing. And I have those problems to an extent with the finale, too. I think that in the same way that the show did not earn Daenerys' heel turn toward Mad Queendom, I think the show didn't quite earn King Bran. In that, if this show...
They seemed like cop-outs.
if this episode had occurred at the pacing that the early seasons did, this finale episode would have been 3 episodes of deliberation by the members of the council selecting the king. We would have seen a deep dive exploration of every lord's tribal interests from their own area of control, their own personal interests, debating and balancing and making secret alliances and betraying each other until we finally settled on Bran. Yeah. But we didn't have that. We had Tyrion made a speech and everybody said okay. And that's not Game of Thrones. But overall, I was satisfied with the ending.
I can agree a lot, because in a lot of ways I agree with what you say, because in a lot of ways the actual truncated timeline of this season was kind of interesting in that I'm sure if you went back and averaged out the minutes, this season had probably as many minutes as every other season, but there's a big difference between having 6 episodes and 10 episodes, because you can do a lot more when you break it up, and you can pace the story out a lot better. And
I've seen a pattern in who seems to like the 8th season and who doesn't. And the people who tend to like the 8th season are people who are not book readers. And the people who read the books seem to dislike the 8th season, because the 8th season was the least like the books. In the early seasons, the scenes that got the most time devoted to them, and this is because the budget was not as good, the scenes that got the most time devoted to them were interpersonal deliberations.
Oh, yeah.
And then you would have the battle scenes would be like the battle starts and then the screen goes black and then the battle's over, because the show didn't have the budget for battle scenes.
Right.
And that's the way the books went, was most of the time was spent on like scheming and discussions.
Deliberations about what's going to happen next.
that's what the fans of the books like. They like lengthy series of scheming playing out, and then the battles happen, and that's like the realization of all the scheming, and it happens quickly.
Yeah.
Whereas the show watchers are like, give me dragons and CGI.
Yeah. Well, and like a great example of that is the Battle of the Whispering Woods. Like that was, there was some scene to that in the show, but it was basically just a thing that happened in the book. Like you just skip to Jamie being, a fucking captor. They talk about it later that Jon Snow ran around with a giant direwolf. Or I'm sorry, oh fuck, his older brother. What's his name? He's been dead forever. Rob, thank you. Rob Stark. He running around with his direwolf, just kicking everybody's ass. But it was like mentioned by like people who like were happy they didn't die in that battle, and then you just move on. Yeah.
Well, yeah, or even Battle of the Blackwater, which was
exactly.
Blackwater in the books is probably the most tactically interesting battle of Game of Thrones.
Right.
But in the show, it was short. There was a little bit of battle shown, but it wasn't grand scale like you saw in season 8. And that's what the people who have been long time followers of the series are into. It's a bunch of strategically interesting decisions, and then like they come to fruition in a short battle scene.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you have the budget and the time to have long battle scenes and long deliberative scenes, you know what? Great. But that's, I mean, realistically, you're not going to see that.
Right, and a lot of how do I want to phrase this? Serial shows like this have a problem with keeping up the interest of the viewers when you have to waffle between, like you're saying, the interaction between the characters, the dialogue, and the big CGI battles. A great example is like Breaking Bad. Like Breaking Bad was great because it was all interactions between the characters, and yeah, there'd be like a gunfight here or there, but like it wasn't like every season you got this big gunfight like or a big explosion or something. When that happened, it was like so out of left field. I tell Rachel that like every time I watch Game of Thrones, like sometimes like Lady Mormont is my fucking, it's like she's my fucking favorite character. Like some of her little monologues, because she's like 5.5 feet tall, like 5'1", just this like fucking 12-year-old girl, just fucking standing up telling everybody that the North remembers, and basically calling out a bunch of huge dudes like y'all are pussies. Like that, those kind of dialogues would make me like stop, rewind, make another drink, watch it again. So like the show might be 60 minutes, but I'm like 95 minutes into it, like just like this is awesome. And like you said, those are the parts of the books that kept me reading it, and those are the best parts I thought of the show. And I'm with you. The turn towards electing Bran as the king too quick. I still will say that it tickles me to no end that I had to rewind it for a while and figure out why the hell Jon Snow didn't want to bang Daenerys that one time. And I was like, oh, that's right, he knows it's his aunt. Like the whole turn of Dany becoming the heel was because Jon Snow soured on banging his aunt. I find that a little bit entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, I think the show lost sight of what type of person is a Game of Thrones fan.
Yeah.
Like I brought up earlier, and the author that I compare George R.R. Martin to, not stylistically, because their writing styles are not similar, but I compare George R.R. Martin to F. Scott Fitzgerald because they're both very character-driven authors. They flesh out their characters and in excessive detail, and their characters' traits are what drive the story. Even though their writing styles and obviously their genres are not similar at all, but I think they're very similar in that the most important thing in their stories is their characters' personality traits. And in the late seasons of the show, they got away from that, and I think that's why the fandom is unhappy.
Yeah. Well, and I that's fine. The fandom can be fucking unhappy. The funny thing is like Game of Thrones doesn't owe them shit. Like that's the thing. Like there's
nobody's owed. I mean, like owed is such a weird word to use here.
Nobody. Well, as we're sitting here talking, 1.5 million people. Hold on, it's still updating. Yeah, 1.5 million people have signed a petition to redo the entire 8th season with better writers. Blah 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 blah. Like,
well, that's stupid. But...
yeah, it's just so dumb, and then it's so dumb that one of the things I'll probably talk to Shay about is like they just decided that Robert Pattinson's in the lead for becoming the next Batman, and like the second that was announced, a flurry of petitions shot up that say like I don't like that, like goddamn, like I don't understand people that are like I'm going to sign a petition because I don't like the way the world's going. Well, that's great, but
well,
Game of Thrones showrunners don't owe you shit.
Petitions are by and large useless, but like owed is a weird word to use here because I mean, am I owed something by any purveyor of an entertainment material? No, but like if they want to sell books and movies and things, they probably want to make something that an audience wants to see and or read, and in this case, I mean, Game of Thrones has built up enough of a following that, I mean, they could put up a season 8 episode 7 that is just like a 2-hour video of somebody taking a shit, and like several million people would watch it. Obviously they would voice their displeasure, but they'd watch it.
Yeah.
And like I think it's unreasonable to take the position that like the people who you anticipate consuming the product that you create are not allowed to have an opinion about that product.
Well, that's fine. Like, you can have an opinion about that product, but what I think is hilarious is how frantic people are in demanding that you redo that product to their exact specifications.
Well, I think that we need to draw a differentiation between people who are generally unhappy with the direction that Season 8 took and people who are, like, demanding a redoing of Season 8 and are expecting that to, like, have any impact on the world whatsoever.
I mean, 1.5 million people signed the fucking petition, so there's at least that. I mean, it's just dumb.
I mean, yeah, I like, there are dumber things that 1.8 million people have, but...
One of which would be the presidency of Donald Trump that we talked about before, but whatever. Not split hairs.
62 million people, but...
Yeah. All right. Well, I thought... I'm gonna saddle up beside you and say I agree that I liked the season 8 finale. I like to say that Drogon is the best dragon doggo. He gave Daenerys that was actually one of the big things that like did surprise me, that they just knifed the fuck out of Daenerys like right off the bat. Really, like you were about 20 minutes into that show and Jon Snow gave her the shiv, just kind of backed away thinking he was going to get his ass just fucking cooked. And Drogon, of course, probably wouldn't attack him because he's also a Targaryen. Just like nudged her, and everybody was like, "Oh," and of course, melts the Iron Throne with his dragon breath, and then picks her up and flies away. And I think there's about 1,000 web pages now dedicated to where did Drogon take Daenerys, but whatever. Oh, that was a great scene. Kind of surprised me. Good.
I want to eventually give my defense because there has been some criticism of the choice to make Bran king, and I want to give my defense of that. But there has been an interesting conspiracy theory that I have read about Drogon, and I don't want to say it's ridiculous, but also it's a little bit unsupported. I have read a theory that one of the things that Bran was doing that was unexplained when his eyes roll back in his head and he wargs out and it doesn't show us what he's doing, is that he figured out how to warg into Drogon, and that the reason that Drogon did not kill Jon and melted the Iron Throne was that Bran was warged into Drogon at that point. And I think, I mean, really the only evidence for that is that, like, dragons probably I mean, they're probably more intelligent than an average dog, but they likely do not have a developed sense of poetic irony. So,
Yeah.
melting the Iron Throne is not like something that a dragon would think to do, absent being worked into. That's really the only valid point I give it in its favor, other than Bran has been like working out and not telling us what he's doing for a while. It's unsupported, but it's interesting. So I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Oh yeah, I mean I'm totally fine with it. I would be totally fine with that. The other theory is that for the time that Drogon was gone, when when she had originally taken over the temples of the slavers, like there's this time where like yeah, Marine and Drogon just like disappeared for a long stretch of time. There's some theory that he had found and raised other dragon eggs, so that there were other dragons out there. Because apparently the band of the at the intro shows 3 small dragons and 1 large dragon, and now there's just the 1 dragon. So they're saying that like Drogon is that dragon. He's racing 3 new dragons. Yeah, so there's a bunch of shit out there that people will just throw against the internet and see what sticks. But yeah, I'm fine with fucking Bran warging into a dragon. Apparently Rachel watched like the last 20 minutes of this season finale because it was just on, and she was like, "What the fuck was going on?" I was like, "Oh god, there's so much to unpack there. Like, come on." But yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it. I mean, did you hear the theory that and I have to go back because like the delineation I have now between the book and the show is kind of hard to discern. In the book, like for those of you that are reading the books, I mean, if George R. R. Martin will ever write another fucking book, the books end with Varys like shuttling in one of the kids. So I'm gonna fuck this up. You can correct me, but the Mountain apparently killed the last Targaryens, smashed their heads against the wall, but apparently they smuggled out one of them and just put in some poor kid that just got his head caved in. So Tyrion and Jorah Mormont are on a boat. They're training this kid that's apparently a Targaryen. He dyed his hair blue so nobody can see that it's jet white. And Varys has been scheming this whole time to get this other Targaryen child, and I would have to go back and look it up to see exactly who his parents were. I don't think it was Rhaegon, but like that was the
actually it is. It's Rhaegar and Elia Martell, his first wife.
There you go. Yeah, and so like that's what's going on in the books, and there's all these prophecies that have been bantered around, and one of the prophecies apparently say that Daenerys is the Queen of Dragons, and one of the theories was that she was actually a dragon. Because remember when she had a baby with Drogon, it was said that it had like scaly and it was blind and had dragon wings and everything. So they're saying that like she would actually turn into a dragon and fight with Drogon in this final episode. I was like,
let's clarify, baby, with Drogo, because Drogon is the dragon.
Right, Drogo is the Khaleesi Lord. Khal Drogo. But like that was another theory that's been bandied around. That like in the last episode of the season, she would literally transform into a dragon and kick everybody's ass with Drogon. And I was like, all right, fine. I mean, I'd watch that. Like, I wouldn't turn it off. I mean, fuck, who gives a shit?
Now, what I'd like to defend from the finale is the choice of Bran as king. The fact that everybody fell in line, except for Sansa, and Sansa can get away with it because she's Bran's sister.
Right. That was clear as fucking day.
But what you have is of the 7 kingdoms, actually 8. It's 7 because officially the Iron Islands are part of the Riverlands, but really you have 8 factions. Mm-hmm. And of those 8, 5 have very strong incentives to fall in line in a single unified kingdom. And that is the Westerlands, the Reach, Stormlands, Vale, Westerland and Dorne. Now, Tyrion has already proposed Bran, and Tyrion is the hereditary lord of Casterly Rock. So the Westerlands are already in the bag for Bran. The Riverlands are so devastated by the War of the Five Kings that they cannot survive as an independent kingdom. So Edmure has a strong incentive to fall in with whoever would be a king. Now, mind you, the lords on the council pretty much cannot put themselves forward as king because then everybody would. Nobody is gonna for each other. So Bran is the person who is there in the situation. Now, Robin Arryn is he's a weak ruler, and he can only keep his position by having a strong ally above. So his incentive, like Edmure's, is to be in good with Bran.
Right.
Go down to the Stormlands. Gendry is only Lord of the Stormlands because he was legitimized as Robert Baratheon's son by Daenerys.
Right.
Daenerys is dead and not particularly popular anymore, so that's not much of a credential. So he also has to be in good with Bran. Dorne has had Dorne has a history of independence, but the unnamed in the show Prince of Dorne, now that every Dornishman of note is dead, also needs to solidify his position. Same issue. The Iron Islands are devastated. Same issue. So, by and large, you have everybody but the North cannot stand up on their own. So their incentive is to unify. I mean, the Reach especially, the Tyrells are extinct. There is no ruling family in the Reach, and whoever the king is going to appoint the Lord there, so obviously they're going to fall in line. And Bran is somebody who already has a Lord, Tyrion, the person who suggested him, who is a strong supporter. So it's kind of he's the guy who's been suggested, why not him? But, again, there still should have been more deliberation. And nobody...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from, and I totally understand all those points, and it makes perfect sense that they should deliberate and maybe come to a better agreement than just saying, I nominate Bran because he can see the past and the future, and also he's not, in his current state as the three-eyed raven. He gives literally no shits about the current, he's not going to rule out of vice or greed or trying to solidify or make his house grand. He doesn't give a shit about that. And the
other issue I had with the speed at which they all agreed on Bran is that there's no evidence that anybody who's not a Northman knows what the fuck the three-eyed raven is.
Exactly. It's never been brought up. Yeah. Yeah, it's never been brought up. I'm sure that, after they left that room, they're like, all right, does anybody want to fucking, kind of fill me in on what a three-eyed raven is? And they're like, yeah, we're going to get some meat. We're going to explain this shit to you because it is bonkers.
There should have at least been a scene where Bran proves to everybody there that he's like an omnipotent human Wikipedia.
Right. Yeah, that would have been great. That would have taken, 40 seconds?
Yeah.
Of fucking screen time? Yeah, it would have been great. But, and this is one of the parts I, tried to explain to, Rachel. She's like, what the fuck was going on? I was like, all right, they appointed this guy because he's a three-eyed raven. She's like, what the fuck's that mean? I was like, don't worry, nobody else does either. It just means he's a wizard. He can see the past and the future, and the reason he's gonna rule is because he's not gonna be vain about it, and he's not gonna try to build up his house, which is also kind of helpful for Sansa because, like you said, it's his sister. He's not gonna all right, you're a bitch, you're done, and raise Winterfell and build something else there.
Because they made, Bran can't have kids, and also they made the Iron Throne non-hereditary, so the next king decide that 6 kingdoms is more than 1, and they want the North back.
Yeah, right. 7 kingdoms, yeah. I don't know. Well, the last thing that I'd like to say on this is that the ending was a little bit more anticlimactic than I think everybody expected, which is fine, but it also set up 3 or 4 different spin-off shows, and HBO and the production company have already come out and stamped that down. There's not going to be a Sansa Goes West. No, sorry, not Sansa. Arya Goes West. Spin-off show, and I don't know.
Although there are going to be a bunch of spin-off shows.
Yeah, but they're all going to be prequel oriented, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I mean, the one that's confirmed is like an Age of Heroes
Right.
prequel. I have heard rumors that there's going to be a Targaryen Conquest prequel and also a
Right.
Robert's Rebellion prequel. I really want to see a Robert's Rebellion prequel. That one's going to be badass, and I want to see it.
No, that'd be fun because there's
gonna
a lot of this the story that we enjoy was generated or set up in that rebellion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the factual things that we argue about and say are theories or not theories, like the gray area that everybody loves to fucking bullshit about on the interwebs, is set up in that rebellion. Yeah.
Also, I want to point out a problem that I did have in not the finale, but the second to last episode, where Cersei expresses a concern, and then Qyburn, I think it was Qyburn, reassures her and says, the Red Keep has never fallen.
Oh, yeah.
So the Red Keep very notably fell when Robert Baratheon took it during his rebellion.
Right. Now, it had a hard nudge toward falling when Jaime Lannister stabbed, the leader of the Kingsguard stabbed his king right in the back to save King's Landing.
And when Tywin Lannister's troops, let Robert through the gates, yeah, but it still fell.
Oh, yeah. It did not repel those forces at all. It got thoroughly fucking turned over. It was, it changed hands too sweet. All right. So I think that's about all the Game of Thrones things we need to say. You got anything else you want to say about the series?
Hurry the fuck up, George.
Yeah, seriously. Well, I was talking to a buddy. I was just talking to a buddy of mine today, and he was like, I mean, I kept bashing. Everybody's like, oh, George Martin. I'm like, no, fuck him. Nobody should talk to him until he produces another book. Until I can pre-order Winds of Winter on fucking Amazon, nobody should fucking talk to him. And if he stumbles into a panel at Comic-Con, and he's like, hey, guys, they should be like, fuck off, Martin. When you've got a book to talk about, come back. Stop giving him attention.
Yeah. Hey, Martin, why are you here at Comic-Con and not at home writing?
Yeah. Fuck off. And my buddy was like, well, I'll buy the books. Yeah, so will I. When he fucking produces them, that's the fucking crutch here.
Yeah, I get that, I don't know, in 2014, 2015, yeah, you were being a little bitch when you were like, hey, George, where's the fucking book? But at this point, it's been fucking 8 years, George.
Yeah. It's been, like I said, it's been 2,872 days since A Dance with Dragons was published. And yeah, when the show blew up, when Game of Thrones, HBO, quote unquote, show, all that thing blew up, he became a nerd celebrity and he just wallowed in it. And a lot of people have said that, hey, he probably, just wrote in his basement. He was very, maybe, not that social. And now he was invited to a bunch of parties, a bunch of red carpet events. He loved it. He wallowed in it. And I totally get that. That's fun. You do you. But, at this point, we're praising him for something he has not done yet. Everybody now is coming to him and saying, well, how do you feel about the end of the show, and how will it differ from this totally fictitious ending that you haven't fucking written yet? Everybody's clamoring to ask him how his ending's going to be different. I don't think anybody should talk to him until he writes the fucking ending.
I think that actually is a petition I can get behind, and that is nobody talked to George R.R. Martin until he's done writing.
Yeah, it might smart a little bit for him to go to a red carpet event he thought he was invited to and just being fucking turned the fuck out. No. Unless you've got a manuscript, we're done. We're done talking to you. All right, let's take a super short break. I got to go downstairs and get a beer, and I'll come up and I want to talk to you about the investigation into the investigators and how much Donald Trump is fucking spending on his golf game. It's fucking hilarious.
Fair enough.
Yeah. All right.
It's almost 11. I thought we'd have some money by now, huh? Oh, hey.
There we go.
I have arrived.
Holy shit.
We talked about Game of Thrones.
Oh, good for you. Why?
Yeah.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, that's fine. My little display's not up. Are you recording now?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Okay. Yeah. That was exciting.
You're off screen for me, but do you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't have a camera on my end either. So I'm not seeing myself, which is offensive. Let's see what happens if I do this. Turn video on. Hey, it doesn't work either. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is my rum and cokes. There we go.
Turn your video on, at least so I can see you. There we go. All right, so we talked Game of Thrones. Adam, do you feel at least vented or vindicated?
Yeah, I was not as critical to update Shay. I was not as critical of the finale as I was of the penultimate episode.
All right.
I mean, I'll just say this. I don't want to rehash it. I just didn't like the ending because it was just fucking boring. It's just lame. Like, if you were going to give me basically the end of Lord of the Rings where they all go to the Grey Havens, just do that in the last episode and call it quits. I don't need an hour and a half of that shit. Yeah, I mean, honestly, to this day, my biggest gripe is going to be how they bought. I think it's funny how Jon Snow just got fucked. He's just like, all right, well, go back to the Night's Watch, asshole. Have fun with that shit.
Hey, King Rhaegon, have fun freezing your nuts off for the rest of your life.
And there really may not actually be a threat left anymore, but you're going to guard it.
Yeah.
Because now after that happened, there's no way anyone's going to say, like, well, we don't need to guard the wall,
By the way, that would be a great job. Like, hey, go guard against this thing that will never happen anymore.
Fantastic. That's fantastic. That's what the TSA's doing.
Yeah, pretty much. I gotta take off my shoes for no fucking reason.
Yeah, yeah. Like, every time I go through TSA, I have to be careful not to drink too much before I go on my flight, or I will be muttering stuff about fucking $14 an hour fast just as I get scanned as I go through.
Oh yeah. I almost missed my flight to Berkeley. I showed up an hour and a half before my flight. And I thought it was golden. And then I got into the security line, and I was behind two, I would say in their mid-70s to late 70s, people who did not speak English as a first language. And they were in wheelchairs. So, like, the woman had crutches, and she would not give them up.
Like just refused?
She just refused. Like, she wanted to go through the scanner with her crutches, and they're like, no, you can't do that. And she's like, she just said a bunch of shit to them in Yiddish or something. And I was like, okay, let's just take a deep breath.
I have actually been behind instances like that and just been like, hey, I don't have a problem. Can I go now? Because I got a flight to catch. I don't know what they're doing. They don't like that.
Yeah, no,
My favorite.
What's
go
that, Adam?
No, go ahead.
Well, I thought I had plenty of time, and then once I got through the line, after arguments with these people, like, they understood some English, they just did not want to comply.
Yeah.
They wanted to just get wheeled through, like, this special place, and they're like, no, dude, you're going to stand up and you're going to get wanded because I know you can walk. And he was like, no. And they're like, oh, yeah. Fuck. Yeah. And I was like, fuck. And so when I finally got through the security line, I looked at my watch. I was like, holy shit, they started boarding 5 minutes ago. Balls. And I had to do a quick sprint to there. And I made the flight, but it was like, it sucked.
That shit is, yeah, I get it, like, back in the day or whatever, but, like, right now, there's no real excuse to not understand how that works. Like, maybe I'm just spoiled because I live next to DIA, so I fly pretty frequently through a really busy-ass airport. Oh, yeah. You do the same thing, Justin. Adam, I don't know how much you fly, but I'm sure you do fly, and it's just like, come on, guys, like, don't tell me you didn't think that all this shit, like, and especially, like, I went through TSA in Denver one time, and, like, the guy, like, no, TSA doesn't actively look for weed, and that's not what they're there for. But when you have a pound of it in your bag and you just lay it on the conveyor belt to go through the scanner, like, they're not going to let you do that, you fucking dipshit.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's not how that works. I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me, man. And then, so, yeah, I've never, knock on wood, I've never missed a flight, and I've never been late through security, but I'm real good about making sure I get there early enough to get a buzz on before I get the plane, so.
My favorite, and by favorite, I mean most concerning TSA interaction was, I never thought twice about it, but I went through, my, like, general travel backpack that I just take with me whenever I fly as my carry-on has an umbrella stuck in one of the little side pockets, and I don't mean inside, I mean, like, there's an umbrella stuck in one of the little mesh, like, outer side pockets. And
your water bottle goes in the other one if you're, Yeah.
And I have never taken... I mean, unless it's been raining and I've been using it, I have never taken that umbrella out of that little side pocket on my backpack. And I went through security, no issues, not thinking anything of it. And the person behind me was I believe from the style of his turban, he was a Sikh, but they gave him so much shit about his umbrella. And I was like right in front of him and also had an umbrella in my backpack, and they did not give me like a second of shit about it. And I was like, whoa, hold up, motherfuckers.
Yeah. Well, I went through one time, and I just used the backpack I have that I always carry to work. And the backpack I carry to work has a 6-inch survival knife in it. It's always in there. It's a survival knife. It's about 6 inches. It's a full tang blade, and in the little pouches it has a fire starter. And these things cost like $4.99 on Amazon, so I got them hidden all over the fucking house. Yeah. It's just like, oh, cool. I'll put one in my fucking shoe. Doesn't matter to me.
Yep.
But I forget that it's fucking there because it's my daily carry to Argonne, which technically that knife is a little bit too long to go to Argonne, but whatever. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
And so I just fucking threw that thing in the conveyor belt, and they're like, sir, we're going to need to talk to you. Like, do you have a knife in the bag? I was like, not at all. And then they pull out the 6-inch knife. I'm like, oh, that one. Yeah, that's yours now, I guess. And they're like, what did they like? We're trying to ask me like, what did I intend with this knife? I was like, I intended to take it to Florida, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. I forgot it was in there. Like, I love it when they think you're gonna put up a finger like, here, keep it. I don't care.
Yeah, fuck it.
$5,
like,
there you go, dude.
They're like, do you want to mail it back to yourself? I was like, no, it's fucking $4.99. I'll buy. There'll be another one at my house before I fucking land in Florida. Calm down.
Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, TSA, you do a good job, but France stopped making us take off their shoes like 10 years ago, so fucking catch
also,
up.
Tone down the racism.
Yeah, that would be really nice. That would be nice too. All right, so I was gonna ask Adam this, Shay. You can weigh in too. As of this week, Donald Trump has officially hit $100 million, actually $102 million, on his vacations for 2 fucking years, because he has to go to all of his, beachfront properties and golf resorts. Has anybody heard the GOP Sean Hannity-ites complain about this yet?
No, of course not. No, I would love to see that compared to how much Obama spent, which I'm sure
Oh,
somebody's
would you
already
like-
done. Yeah,
Would you like some numbers,
No,
Shay? Because
I would love it.
What's that, Adam?
No, I get my news exclusively from Fox, and therefore, as far as I'm concerned, the president has not golfed since Obama left office.
Oh, of
That's
course.
true.
Now we all remember when Donald Trump was running for the presidency. Now I know this is an old trope, but it's never going to not be a fun trope to say, "What if Obama did this?"
Yeah, the whataboutism or what ifism is it's real stupid, and it's honestly I hate it because it's an easy mark because it doesn't change anybody's mind because people don't care what the other guy did. But it sometimes it's just too fucking funny because Donald Trump consistently over and over again talks shit about Obama golfing during his entire fucking presidency. I think he's just mad because I bet my bottom dollar Obama's a better golfer than he is.
Yeah, well, I'm actually developing some very detailed research on that.
Yeah, let's find out what his average is.
Yeah.
His handicap, dude. I bet it's real bad.
There is, and I can't remember which one it is, but it's a famous pro golfer, and he said Obama beat him one time.
I just assume Obama's good at sports because he's cool as shit.
Well,
Like,
and
he's just a smooth ass fucker.
And he's also not 72 and
That's
just
true.
a sack of lard.
Yeah. Just like,
There-
I
Also,
love that shit. People try to say
I have
Donald Trump.
seen. I mean, I'm not a good golfer, but I have seen Donald Trump swing, and he is very obviously not a good golfer.
Right. Well, there's actually an entire. I don't think Dad listens to this podcast, Shay, but I bought Dad a book. There's an entire book about it. It's called Commander in Chief. It's about it was written.
Talk
by,
about when he cheated at that golf tournament.
Well, it's an entire book
part
about.
of it. Okay.
It's that's part of the book. The entire book is about how it's written by. If I'm not fucking this up, and I haven't looked into it too closely. I like I said to you and Adam, I am trying to compile a very kind of detailed comparison of Donald Trump's golf game and Barack Obama's golf game, just for comparison. And of course, all the stories about Donald Trump just being a complete shit cheater on the golf course. But the book is called Commander in Chief because it compares and contrasts the fact that golf is supposed to be a gentleman's game. It's all about honor and some skill. And Donald Trump just shits all over it because he thinks that if he owns a golf course, he can drive his golf cart up onto the green. Now, just for sake of reference, I know Shay's not an avid golfer, and Adam might have golfed.
I like to golf, but I think I like golf because golf is a fun thing to do while drinking. But I'm not good at.
That's why it's one of my hobbies.
That's why I like bowling. Like but I'm actually a pretty good bowler. So
I'm a pretty good bowler too. I have my own ball. It's called Patriot Blaze.
Yes.
I'm not lying about that. But
I know you're not.
But like a golf green can cost upwards of a couple $1 million because you have to build it up and then level it, and then you have to grow that grass that will just grow that that fucking fine so you can putt on it. I once tackled a buddy of mine because he was not I literally tackled him off the green because he was not familiar with what happened, and he had hit his ball onto an adjacent green, and he had just squared up on this ball with a fucking 7-iron, was going to dig the biggest fucking divot in that green I think anybody had ever seen, and I caught him just as he was back swinging, and I just like wrapped him up. But like Donald Trump drives golf carts up on greens, like because he just thinks fuck it, but like since they're not solvent, he doesn't care. But there's an entire book written about how his approach to the game of golf kind of shadow boxes his approach to the presidency. So Shay was asking about some numbers. Right now, as we're sitting here, we don't have all the days of Donald Trump's vacations yet because of course, his term's not up yet. But George W. Bush had 88 vacations. The days, it was 1,020 days on vacation that cost the U.S. taxpayer $140 million.
Don't get me wrong. The president should be able to take a vacation. It's the most stressful job in the world. But you should also understand, as the president, you shouldn't have enough free time to take a ton of vacations.
Right, but also understand that there's always somebody with the cell phone 8 inches away
Yeah,
from
dude.
you.
I mean, he's never really on vacation.
Right,
That's the other thing.
right.
And I think that's really important. Like, even when Donald Trump's golfing, if something happened, he's going to get whisked away off the golf course. And I do admit that. But it wouldn't be an issue if he didn't talk so much shit about other people golfing.
I mean, yeah,
Sorry.
like Donald Trump in his 2016 election said, and I quote, "I will not golf. I will not have time to golf because I'll be working my ass off in the White House all the time." Since then, he spent basically every other weekend at Mar-a-Lago or his Westminster golf course. So Barack Obama had 29 vacations technically for 328 days. And this is the number we need to talk about. In 8 years, the Obamas spent $96 million. This number, it goes between 80 and about $97 million. So I think $95 million is a fucking fair bet. So let's just say $95 million. In 8 years, Donald Trump has fucking beat that in 2 years.
Nice. 2 years.
Now, is Sean Hannity going to do a Fox News alert on that? I doubt it.
I doubt it. He did one for Obama, though, didn't he?
I'm sure he did. Yeah. Oh, there's a great montage. There's a great montage. There's a great montage of a Fox News host be like, "Well, he's golfing again. Look at this Negro out on the golf course where he should just be white man." You know, it's just basically what they're talking about. So that's fun. One point you should remember, in case somebody brings this up, is President Trump donates his salary. Remember, they made a big deal about that. Since he's so rich, he donates his salary. I know this is petty, but it's just so easy to dunk on this dipshit. He donates a salary of $400,000 a year. Even if we assume he already donated his 2019 salary.
Yeah.
That is the money spent on his vacations is already 127.5 times what he's quote unquote given up.
Well, and here's my thing. And this is, again, like just one of the great things about his presidency I'd love to look at is like, because I remember when he ran, he specifically told me how rich he was, and that because of that, he didn't need political donors, so he was beholden to nobody but the people he was trying to help. I mean, he didn't say those words, but I can't imagine him using the word beholden, but that was the general inference of it. But now, as I understand it, he is doing all the fucking fundraising he can for 2020.
Well, and during 2016,
he did that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and Adam can correct me if I'm not right, if I'm incorrect, but he said like, "I will self-fund my campaign," and then proceeded to absolutely not self-fund his campaign. Even fucking blur some lines between his foundation and his campaign by like siphoning money from his, the Trump Foundation into his campaign.
Yep. Sounds classy. I mean, but it's almost as if he's full of shit. Maybe that's just me picking up on that, because it seems like it's like me and you and Adam here, and then the rest of maybe we're the enlightened ones, guys.
Maybe we're the only ones to figure it out. Who knows?
Yeah, right.
After I smoked this weed, I would have solved some problems, boys.
Yeah. Okay, so Donald Trump is a hypocrite. That's not a news flash. Shay, I know, Adam. It's getting late in your hemisphere, so we'll skip over some of the red pill kid stuff. I want to talk to Shay about that. It's kind of funny. But I would like to take, let's say, another 15 minutes to get Adam's perspective and Shay's perspective. Now they're both here on this weird world that has been created in the last 60 days or so since the Mueller report dropped, in that there's this weird coexistence of investigations between Donald Trump and the Democrats and the investigation of the investigators. So I just want to give a quick rundown, and then I want to hear you guys weigh in on this, because I know what I think because it's in my head. But since the Mueller report started, the Donald Trump and the GOP has been absolutely bleating about how unfair it has been, and how the Mueller report, while Mueller was actually appointed by Rosenstein, who is a Trump appointee, how this was all unfair, and it was all done by the Democrats, and they want to investigate the CIA and the FBI and all this bullshit. There's just some really vague bullshit about how the Steele memo and how it was used to secure the FISA warrants against Papadopoulos. I still can't believe I can say that name correctly.
It's against Carter
My
Page.
understanding is everyone
Was
who's
it Carter
actually
Page or was it Papadopoulos?
It was Carter Page.
All right, Carter Page. Okay.
Wasn't Papadopoulos the guy that got overheard in a restaurant or some shit?
Okay,
That was,
Yeah,
that's the guy.
he's the one. Papadopoulos was the one who got drunk in London and told some
That's it.
Australian diplomat that Russia was involved somehow with Carter Page.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for correcting me on that. So there's some weird woo-fuckery about the Steele memo, which nobody really has said it was 100% true. Even the guy who, even Michael Steele, who corrected it, even compiled it, even says, hey, this is raw intelligence. There might be some flubs here, but this is what's going on. So there was always this idea that the Steele memo was 1,000% bullshit. It was paid for by Hillary Clinton. They just, they of course just gloss over the fact that it was originated by the Washington Free Beacon as Trump Oppo research, and was later picked up by a law firm that was paid by Hillary Clinton. They just gloss over that. I'm almost, I actually read this. You can look at Lawfare. Lawfare blog has a great article that all of these accusations were actually debunked in the Nunes memo that he released. That was supposed to, I guess, shut down any of the Mueller investigation. Like, in that memo, it acknowledges that the FISA court was told that it was a rival political candidate. It didn't say Hillary Clinton, but it said rival, campaign number one, or whatever. Since then, Lindsey Graham has vowed to investigate the FBI and all the people that, quote-unquote, hated Trump's guts. Lindsey Graham swears that the Intel Committee will investigate Secretary Clinton's emails, I guess for the third fucking time. And then Barr appointed Attorney General John Durham to investigate the origins of the Russian probe, which gave everybody from Sean Hannity to a couple people on my Facebook page raging hard-ons, because they think that we should always investigate the investigators.
No, I can stop you there. Is it hard-ons or hards-on?
I'm fine with either.
Like attorneys general?
I think hards-on is better.
Hard-on?
Because
That doesn't make any sense. It's hard-ons.
But it's multiple singular boners.
So hard-ons, like hards-on doesn't make sense.
Would it be like hard eye?
Wait, maybe it would be something like, how like a bunch of crows is called a murder? Maybe a bunch of old white dudes with a boner is something completely different. Like you call it like, oh man, there goes a terror. It's just a bunch of fucking congressmen with boners chasing hookers.
Actually, I'm 1,000% calling a bunch of congressmen.
That's not a good. Yeah, I think there's another word for it. It's like a murder of crows or a flock of seagulls. It's a something of congressional dicks.
How about a large group of congressional hard-ons is called an unsettled?
I like that.
Unsettled.
An unsettled. Yeah, I like that. That's good.
Because the idea of them walking around with just like you know about 2 inches long and about 3 inches thick little chubs just really unsettles me.
We have brought the production level of this podcast up 1,000% with a single conversation, everybody. We are solving the problems.
Right.
Clean energy's up next.
So anyway, there's a large, there's clearly just this large unsettled walking around wanting to investigate the investigators. And it even feels weird in my mouth, and I'm fine with that because it should feel weird in your mouth. I like to point out that...
dick? Yeah, that would feel weird in your mouth.
It would.
Go freedom.
I would like to point out that nobody is calling for the investigation into Trey Gowdy, who had 6 years worth of fruitless investigations into Hillary Clinton and was even accused of altering documents to try to frame her. And
I hadn't heard that. Did it ever amount to anything, or was he just accused of it?
He basically admitted it to Congressman Cummings in a Senate hearing congressional hearing that he had redacted or truncated some of the documents that he had given to the full committee. That's all he said, but it was very clear that he had done it to make her look bad. Like it'd be like I have never beaten my wife, and just fucking editing out things like I've never not beaten my wife, kind of shit like that. And then it brings us to today, where Donald Trump has walked out of an infrastructure meeting because he says that he will not talk about infrastructure or anything else until the Democrats stop investigating him.
That's literally their job. And again, it comes back to what about it. This shit cracks me up so hard because this is the same fucking party that tore the world apart over a goddamn blowjob. So, yeah, and then like published their special investigative report was published, and people forget this. They intentionally wrote the Starr report in a narrative form so people could digest it easier, which this is not. Yeah, so like, I fucking love that shit.
Well, but also, and don't forget that the Starr report was delivered to Congress 48 hours after it was finished. So it was finished on a Tuesday, and by Thursday at 6 p.m., they had delivered it was several vans full of boxes of materials to Congress. They had just dropped it off. Like there was no ifs, ands, or buts about what happened.
What year was that? I mean, I had to have been like 6 or 7.
That was like no, you were older than that because that was like you would have been like 15 or 16.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like 97 or something like that. 94 if I'm not mistaken. Oh, okay, so that means I would have been 14 and you'd have been like you'd have been like 8 or 9.
Yeah, 9. That's how that math works if it's 94.
Right. So, Shay, I hope you appreciated Adam's PJs.
I did not see his PJs. I was busy looking at something else, but fuck.
All right. So, Adam, I know you want to dip out and go to bed, but do you have anything you would like to say about the whirlwind of Donald Trump complaining that the investigators that investigated him need to be investigated for investigations?
Just that it's been stated publicly so many times by so many different FBI officials, and it's just multiply on the public record that the Russia investigation did not start as a result of the Steele dossier.
Oh,
he keeps coming back to that, and he keeps saying, well, it started because of the Steele dossier. Well, no, the investigation pre-existed that. Or predated that. Well, it's because of Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, who had this documented anti-Trump attitude. Well, no, the investigation pre-existed that. So he keeps I relate this to a defense that I once put on in a case that was, to my credit, successful.
I hope it's okay. It was successful, so I was gonna say I hope it was fucking better than the defense Donald Trump's coming up with right now, because that's.
And this was the first trial that I ever had, and it was an industrial accident, and one of the.
So much like the 2016 election. Sorry to interrupt.
See what you did there, yeah. And plaintiff's attorney, because if it hasn't been said on this podcast before, I'm a corporatist Wall Street shill, and I represent businesses and insurance companies. But the plaintiff's attorney, and throughout the trial, kept drawing attention to all of these minor safety violations that were unrelated to the cause of the injury. And the way that I framed it in the closing argument was the plaintiff's attorney keeps drawing your attention to these things, and you have to remember that this has the same connection to the injury as would our employees' shoes being untied. Is it unsafe? Maybe. Did it cause the injury? No. And we have that same issue in this case. Was the FISA warrant on Carter Page not the result of dotting your T's and crossing your I's? I don't know. Maybe. Was that what caused the Russia investigation to start? No. Like it's you're attacking a point that does not connect to the conclusion here, and that's what needs to be hammered home in the media coverage of Donald Trump's attack here.
Well, I think you're exactly right, because even in the Nunes memo, like I said, that was released, they said, hey, they detailed how this came about, and even in that same memo, they said the Steele memo, while okay, little sidebar here. How much actual Sean Hannity do you consume in a week, Adam?
Zero
Okay.
minutes, 0 seconds.
Justin, you're my filter that we get that shit through. We're not willing to expose ourselves to that toxic mess.
The only Sean Hannity that I'm exposed to is that if it is in the rare instance where he is clipped on a show or podcast that I listen to.
Justin, here's your hazmat suit. Go into the core and see what's happening with the conservative agenda. That's what I'm saying.
I am well aware that I am our sin eater. I'm the one that walks into here.
Yes. You are my Pandora's box. I will put all the bending
So the reason, I used to listen to Sean Hannity's radio show all the time, and I really have stopped doing it. And the same, and for the most part, I kind of switched from Limbaugh to Sean Hannity, because when Sean Hannity became, Donald Trump's idiot whisperer, that's kind of where I made it. That's also the reason I listened to Alex Jones, because when Donald Trump went on Alex Jones in 2015, it's December 2nd, 2015. If you want to fucking fact check me, I'm right. He went on there and said that Alex Jones has a great reputation and he hopes to do him right. That's a problem, because Donald Trump then won the presidency. And when Donald Trump won the presidency, I started listening to Alex Jones because there's that connection there. And the bullshit that's on Alex Jones' show bubbles up to the Sean Hannitys of the world. And the usual fact that you're looking at is you got a Alex Jones to a Drudge Report to a Daily Caller to a Daily Wire to a Limbaugh to a Hannity to Fox News and then to Donald Trump. Or, that's usually how it goes. So, I pay attention to this stuff because I know how ridiculous it sounds, but Alex Jones, 60% of it's complete nonsense. It's a comedy show that doesn't know it's a comedy show, but the other 40% is some really weird right wing shit that will stick in some different places. And one of the things that makes me not pay attention to Sean Hannity anymore, especially his Fox News show, is because it's so fucking repetitive. If you turn it, I could watch the news during the day and write the first 3 or 4 blocks of his show, probably with a 90% accuracy, because what he's going to do is hey, look at these Democrats. They're ignoring the fact that Hillary Clinton used the bought and paid for Russian lies dossier to smear Donald Trump. I mean, it's the same fucking words in a sentence, a word salad. It's not a sentence. It does not have a subject, predicate, and adverb. No. It's just the same weird words he always uses, and it always hammers down on that fact that like Adam said, that hammering down on the fact that the Steele dossier might not be 1,000% accurate, or maybe one part of it's wrong, then it's totally the entire Mueller investigation is just negated because of that. And that's what he nails down on, and he says it, I would say, 4 times in a his 9 p.m. slot or whatever. It's 9 p.m. here where I am. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's 8 here. But yeah, if you were to watch it, Adam, what you're saying about drilling down on a detail that does not matter to the overall case that's being presented is exactly what Sean Hannity does day in, day out.
He's the worst.
Well,
boo. I said stuff, but I was muted. I didn't realize the whole time. It's cool.
I'm sorry, what were you saying? What did you want to say?
I don't remember now. It's fine.
That's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But what I think we're going to see is like today, like I said, the reason I'm bringing this up is because today it came to a head because Donald Trump walked into an infrastructure meeting. By the reports, he walked in, was there for 3 minutes, didn't sit down, said, I would love to do infrastructure, a farm bill, and what the fuck else do we want to do? I think drug prices. I forget. It's right here. I can bring it up. But people that were in the meeting said that he pouted and then just walked out, which is basically what he did during the government shutdown. And then later, even though they had a placard ready, they had handouts ready for the press for this, quote unquote impromptu meeting in the Rose Garden. Sarah Huckabee Sanders said that there was no plan beforehand to walk into that meeting and throw a hissy fit and then walk out because, oh shit, Nancy Pelosi said that he was involved in a cover-up. Like it's like, I mean, come on, I mean, it's like watching fucking. It's like watching goddamn Idiocracy here, like Idiocracy mixed with like the Twilight Zone.
Life imitates art, man.
Yeah. Well, Adam, I know that we've kept you up a little bit longer than you wanted to be up. You have any closing thoughts?
Yeah,
it's your bedtime.
I would have thought you'd have been off by the time I got here. Fuck.
Yeah,
see, I'm such an engrossing host, Shay.
That's true.
Huh.
You are gross.
So, lately, and this is going to be my closing rant before I go to bed. Lately, if you have not seen the news, one of my least favorite people in the public sphere, Julian Assange, has been charged with 17 counts, including certain counts under the Espionage Act, based on the premise that he aided and abetted Chelsea Manning in the theft of security-sensitive U.S. government information. Now,
right. Now,
I have been...
Didn't he like either ask or help her break codes?
He provided her with instruction on how to acquire the information.
That's what I thought.
According to the indictment.
Right.
Now, I have been... Now, U.S. courts have previously ruled that it is not illegal to publish information that your source obtained illegally. However, it is illegal to aid your source in illegally obtaining that information. And that's what Assange has been charged with. Now, this is a discussion totally separate from ideas of due process. I'm a defense lawyer. I understand them intimately. Yes, if he's not guilty of what he's been accused of, obviously he should go free. He's entitled to a zealous defense and due process of law. But what I have been distressed to see is people who I otherwise respect defending him, even assuming that what he is accused of is true, in the court of public opinion. There is nothing laudable about aiding and abetting the theft of security-sensitive government information and publishing it indiscriminately, without redaction, without a heads up to the government to give them the opportunity to get troops or other security-sensitive positions out of harm's way before the information becomes public. That's a principle of journalistic ethics. The Washington Post, the New York Times, the LA Times, the Chicago Sun, every respectable journalistic outlet in the United States has at one point or another published information that they got from a source who obtained it illegally. Those people were not charged with a crime. However, those people involved in those publications adhered to journalistic ethics. They did not publish information which has the potential to put people's lives at risk. They gave the government a chance to comment. They gave the government a chance to get troops and other security-sensitive personnel out of harm's way before the information became public. That is journalistic ethic. That is what makes you a journalist, and not just, I don't know, somebody vomiting information onto the internet that they stole from the government. Totally separate and apart from the discussion of whether what Mr. Assange did was illegal or whether it should be illegal is the discussion of whether what he did was right or laudable. And both in the case of him publishing information from Ms. Manning or the case of him publishing information stolen from the DNC and Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016, which he was doing at the behest of the Russian government, is the question of whether what he is doing is constructive, whether it is good. And I have been distressed to see people I respect defending it as good. And I think it is indefensible morally. I think it should, if it is not illegal, it should be illegal. My interpretation of the law is that it is illegal. And I will not be sad to see him rot in jail. Thoughts?
I always confuse him. Well, I just this is so dumb. So who was the person that leaked about the collection of data on cell phones and shit?
That was Edward Snowden.
I always confuse the two. Okay, I did this. Sorry, I always have to make sure we're talking about the same person. I mean, everything I've read about Assange is that he's a huge piece of shit. Like, as just like a person, like, because he's the one that, like, he was holed up in the embassy for all that time, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
yeah,
like,
apparently he was ducking. He was ducking extradition to Sweden over a sexual assault charge.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, I'm kind of with you on this one in the sense that, like, I get where dude was coming from, but he took what could have potentially, like, I get it, but, like, you did it in the absolute worst way possible. Like, no reactions, like, that's fucking ridiculous. And that shows to me, that says he was more interested in making a name for himself than making a difference. But that's my opinion, because, like, every interview I've ever seen with that dillhole, he just seems like such a fucking douchebag. Like, just I don't even know much about him personally, but, like, just you meet douchebags in public, and you're like, you meet him, and it's like, oh, like that fucking weird guy in line in front of you at a coffee shop or a bar. You're like, oh god, this guy sucks. I get that same vibe.
That's what you hear these reports or you read a story where it's like, if you have an indecisive moment, you should trust your gut, because your gut is like thousands of years of instincts. It's really easy to walk in the room and go, douchebag. Mm-hmm. And that's how
he gives me that vibe.
Yeah, and that's how Assange comes across. Adam and I talked about this before you hopped on, Shay, before we started recording. It was always funny to watch the weird groups of people that do a 180 on Assange. I'm sorry. I mean, like Sean Hannity, back when Assange was like sharing shit about how we had committed war crimes in Iraq and Afghanistan. Sean Hannity wanted to have him strung up and have his nuts like just set on fire because he was a traitor. But now that he's sharing, apparently emails that he stole from Hillary Clinton, he's a fucking patriot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with you on Edward Snowden. Like the same thing. Like Edward Snowden did. Like there might be some issues with actually there's actually some very solid Fourth Amendment issues with how the government monitors and tracks and saves our fucking emails and text messages and phone calls, but the fact that he just like stole a bunch of data and fucking ghosted with it is not how you do that. It's not how you do that.
And that's just, I mean, and that's, but
and now everybody wants to interview him. He's he's in front of some blue screen.
You're talking about Assange, right?
No, Snowden.
Snowden, yeah.
Like Snowden's in Sweden or something.
Yeah,
I don't know where
he's in Russia.
Russia? Oh, great. Yeah, because that we don't have any problems with that.
Yeah, I'm not saying
right
I'm a huge fan of him either. If they're gonna make me, I don't know. I don't know. It's fucking both those guys. I have issues with both of them.
I just think if you've got something that you think is being illegally done by the government, you call the Washington Post.
Exactly.
And you fucking take your lumps. You don't release it on the internet and flee the country.
Yeah, that's. I believe they call that the science. Justin, maybe you can back me up with this with your science background, but I believe that is technically called I believe it's a dick move.
Yeah, it's
is that it? Is that what it is? Yeah, I think it's a dick move. I mean,
it's actually one of the four principles of quantum mechanics.
Yeah, an acceleration of phallus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's basically like, like the principles of quantum mechanics are like, anything that's observable, it has to have a real eigenvalue, it has to have a real Hamiltonian, and then the fourth one is, if you do this, you're a dick.
Yeah.
It's just pretty straightforward. And I'm just personal opinion. I'm always fucking just creeped the fuck out when people are like, well, we should talk about security issues. Well, let's get fucking Edward Snowden on Skype from Russia because he's apparently an authority on it now. Like,
I
no.
hate that shit.
He's a goddamn wanted felon.
No, I mean, like, again, like, I agree that, like, and this is the kind of thing, like, we should have found out about it, but it could have been done in a better way.
Oh yeah.
And like, there is a law, and let's not pretend like there's not a long history of cyber criminals. Instead of serving a sentence, they just become government agents and work for like super, hackers, things like that. So I wouldn't be surprised. It makes sense that the media goes to these people because it's a name people recognize, and in theory, he knows what he's talking about. But again, it's like, I get. You pick the shittiest path to get to your goal, buddy. I don't know about that.
Well, but in the same vein, but a different subject. Like whenever people talk about corruption and lobbying, nobody goes to, oh God, he's in jail right now. That lobbyist. Oh God damn it!
You talking about Paul Manafort?
Now Paul Manafort. Before that, like back in the early 2000s.
Jack
Abramoff.
Thank you.
Oh, good name.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that name drop. Look at this guy over here.
Like, it's not like whenever we talk about corruption in politics, we go interview fucking Jack Abramoff in fucking federal prison. Be like, so, how'd you do it, and how should we do it more?
Yeah, exactly.
For fuck's sake, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Adam. I think you need to dip. You got work tomorrow. Shane and I got shit to do.
It's bedtime for me. I've got capitalism tomorrow.
Unemployment.
Yeah, capitalism. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for entertaining me and all the listeners for the first hour or so of this. And Shay and I are going to talk about a bunch of CW nonsense now.
Oh yes, I've been getting caught up.
Thanks, Adam.
Later, buddy. Good to talk to you.
See you guys.
I miss you already.
He can't turn it off. There you go.
It's still on.
It's still on.
You change the orientation of your phone, though. That's pretty sweet. There he goes, and this is a visual medium, so you're watching us. You're hearing us there, and he's gone. Okay, anyway.
Well, I took a snapshot.
Hey, before we talk about CW shit, I got to throw this out there to everybody.
Hold on.
What?
I already took a picture of Adam's pajamas, so that's going to go up on Facebook.
Amazing. That's it. Y'all need to go see John Wick 3, because that shit is, and I believe the technical term is, big titties. It's so good.
Hold on. They've already announced John Wick 4, so
I know.
I guess
Clearly.
he lived. Yeah.
John Wick Cinematic Universe, and I'm all for it. It's, oh my God, those movies. I'll put it to this way. Justin, you'll appreciate this. Are you going to see this movie?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to spoil anything because it kind of...
I mean, is Donald Trump orange? Does the Pope have a funny hat?
Basically, and you can tell it's kind of a...
Is my dog shitting in the floor now?
Yeah, so there's a part of this movie you need to see because Halle Berry, and this spoiler alert, everyone, Halle Berry's character's gimmick is she has 2 German Shepherds with bulletproof vests that just murder the shit out of everybody. And it is literally like a 20-minute fight scene of the normal John Wick gunplay, but then every now and then some guy just gets his balls ripped off by a dog. And it's very much like... It's the same thing for the first one. Someone shoots her dog, and everyone starts getting real sad, and then she picks the bullet off of the dog's bulletproof vest, and they just start murdering everybody. It's fantastic. And she's like, don't he? The details aren't important, but he's like, don't shoot this guy. We have to talk to him. And she goes, he shot my dog. And then John looks at her and goes, I get it, and then just fucking nails someone right behind the side of him, and they just kill everybody. It's so fucking good.
Yeah. Well, I watched. I of course watched John Wick, the first one. You gave me the heads up.
I did. I warned you.
The first 15 minutes is gonna be rougher than fuck.
Yep.
God bless alcohol, right? And I got just wicked hammered watching that because I'm like, I mean, like I just and I tried to explain to Rachel. I was like, Rachel, what would you do if somebody just stomped Jim to death?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, I'd want you to kill them all. I'm like, yeah, and that's exactly what I do. And so, I told her, I was like, we need to watch this movie. So we sat down and watched John Wick 1. And I fast forward right through the puppy stomping part. And so we still haven't watched, she still has not seen John Wick 2. But I would totally want to I want to watch that with her. Like I
mean, have you seen the second one?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
okay, because the third one takes
not.
The third one takes place like 15 minutes after the end of the first. Second one. It's all basically one movie.
Right. So she has not seen the second one, so she's got a couple days off work, and what we've got to do in the next couple days is she wants to see that movie Booksmart with the chick from Justify Me.
That's supposed to be really fucking good.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, but the problem is it's a comedy about like young girls, so it's gonna get just yanked the fuck out of the theater in about a week and a half. So we're gonna see that tomorrow. What's today? No. Well, yeah, we're gonna see that on Saturday, and then she's got to go to work on Sunday, and then like the next couple days she's off, and we're in that time I want to bust out Brightburn and John Wick 3.
I've heard Brightburn it's a good romp. Everybody says like, yeah, it's really fun. It's pretty fucked up. So it's not winning any Oscars or whatever, but nobody expects.
Right? No, of course it's not. But okay, so you spoiled a little bit of John Wick 3 for me.
Go for it.
Let me spoil a little bit of the sixth book or seventh book. I don't know, the last book that I just read of the Expanse series.
Yeah.
With one sentence.
Yeah.
Doggos in space.
Nah, I have picked up. I'm reading Babylon's Ashes now because of the random bullshit you told me when we were in Florida. I was like, all right, I got to read the rest of these books. These are so fucking good.
So at some point, like one of the characters has a dog, and they land on a planet. They're like, we gotta get off this planet. And they're like, and Amos just scoops up this dog. He's like, I got it.
Yeah,
and
this is mine.
Then it fast forwards to like they're on the float with this dog, and they're talking about how awkward it is because the dog wants to turn around, but it doesn't understand like how to touch a wall or anything. So it's just like fucking like you ever see your dog? Like,
poor dog.
Yeah. But like while it's in the float, they're like throwing food out, and it's like catching food.
Awesome.
Yeah, dog goes into space. I was like, oh, this is awesome. I gotta tell Shay. All right, so let's back up to the fun stuff. So this is the part that they kind of glossed over with Adam. Fun stuff. It Chapter 2. Have you seen the trailer?
Yo, hashtag weird boner, hashtag why am I hard? Look at this naked wiggly grandma over here.
Yeah.
I remember that scene from the book. That's and I'm curious about it because based on what you see in the trailer, I don't know if it's just a psychological warfare thing where it's like, hey, my dad was here, and then it shows the picture of Pennywise the clown back in the day. Because that's not Pennywise's origin. Pennywise has been there since the dinosaurs have been there. You know that. Everybody knows that. Fucking Minion of the Crimson King, Toadette Space. All we'll go to that one. It's fine. Yeah, but so like
it's fundamental.
Yeah, I wonder if they're gonna change it or if that's just like some shit for the trailer. I don't know. I think it's just a trailer.
I actually like that prep better because so what we're talking about here, for those of you who have not seen the trailer, and you should watch the trailer right now, it's fucking amazing, is the first, like, I could say a minute and a half of the trailer is, oh god, Jessica Chastain, am I saying that right?
I think so. I was trying to remember that. Go ahead and talk, and I'll figure out.
Okay, so Jessica Chastain plays the adult Beverly Marsh, and so when the losers come back to Derry 30 years later,
Jessica Chastain, that's it.
One of the things she does in the book is go to her old apartment that she and her mother and her father lived in, and she meets a man. The current tenant is a woman named oh god, it's not Mrs. Marsh, it's something else, but she it's like Kirsch. It's an elderly woman named Mrs. Kirsch. Beverly, of course, when she first sees the name by the buzzer, she sees it as Marsh and she's flipped out. But while she goes in and she has a conversation with like, hey, I used to live here. This elderly woman's like, I really just want somebody to talk to. It really becomes this like weird kaleidoscope type of world where the floor becomes chocolate. There's blood in the tea. Yeah. Like, it's just a warped reality. And it was really a kind of in my opinion, one of the shittiest parts of the book. Because I have no fear of chocolate. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I have no fear of chocolate. But in this trailer, every time Mrs. Kirsch walks out of Beverly's eyesight, she runs across doorways butt-ass naked. And it's weird. And then Beverly is looking at the pictures on the wall, Mrs. Kirsch's wall, and she sees, like Shay said, a bunch of pictures of Pennywise Pennywise basically kind of cosplayed into her father, and which was a huge trope in the book.
Yeah.
And then while she's looking at those pictures, a very tall naked grandmother walks across the doorway until you see kind of off camera a giant naked grandmother charge at Beverly, and that's way more fucked up in my opinion than just a floor of chocolate that's melting or some bullshit.
I mean that's that whole book. Like I love that book. It's one of my favorite books for him. But there, it's like anything else Stephen King has written. Like it's hit or miss. Like there's some, like you take The Stand. There's a bunch of really great shit in that. But then there's also that real weird part where the kid gets anally raped with a revolver for some reason.
That's not fun.
Yeah, and then in It, and anyone who's listening to this, like the best part about the first book coming out, or movie, excuse me, was, there's a lot of stuff in that movie that wasn't in the TV series, like the house on, was it Neobolt Street? Is that it? Neobolt Street, and like the werewolf and the leper and all that stuff. There's all these little things from the books that just aren't in the original version that most of us grew up with, and but everywhere you would see people go, well, there was no kid gangbang, so they cut that out of the book, and people go, well, that's not really in the book, is it? And then you have to show them, because it's like fighting the monster, 12-year-olds having sex with each other. Clearly I've missed some pages. Nope. 481, 482. Nope, I'm not missing nothing. That's just how it goes. Because fucking Stephen King is a fucking coked up weirdo. So, whatever, it makes his books awesome. That's why Dreamcatcher was so weird, because he was addicted to Oxycontin the whole time.
Yeah. It's like, if you haven't read Stephen King's It, there is a 50-page section of the book after they fight it the first time when they're 12, 11 or 12, 13 in the sewers. They lose whatever connection because they had defeated it. They lose whatever connection made them able to find the way down.
It's like the psychic connection. Same thing the kids had in Dreamcatcher.
Exactly.
For duders.
So, for some fucking reason, Beverly decides she fucks every one of them. It'll reconnect them, and so they all have a lot of underage weird sex that you've got to read through. But once you read through the book once, I'm just skipping over this.
And my original point was just that his shit is always all over the place. Like, he's always got a bunch of weird crap in his books, and it's always real hit or miss. It's like, I remember that part you're talking about, and I actually really, for my part, I really like that. Now, I'm also a person who's never actually found a book actually scary. Like, people tell me, like, oh, I had to put it down. It was so scary. I'm like, it's a book. It's words on a page. I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just dead on the inside in that aspect. Like, it makes me anxious, like, because it's a thriller. Like, I'm like, oh, it's gonna happen, but it doesn't actually scare me. So I like that part because it's real whimsical.
Let me interrupt. The parts of it that really bothered me were parts like when Bill Denbrough's wife, Audrey, is coming to Derry to try to save him or find him or whatever. And she's in a hotel room, and, she's sitting there, and suddenly the light in the bathroom comes on. And she hears a gurgling voice say, Audrey.
Yeah.
What? And then she, shuts the door, the door is cracked, just barely. And she runs up and slams the door shut and puts her back against it. And while her back's against it, an extremely long finger comes out from under the door and starts touching her heel. That's the kind of shit that I can imagine happening in the house with the lights off.
That gives me goosebumps.
And that's when Dad would come downstairs and go, why in the goddamn hell are all the lights on down here?
Yeah, I do remember him telling me, oh, Justin's reading Stephen King again. All right, leave all the shit on.
Yeah,
That's fine.
And so Dad would come downstairs, get a drink of water, and all the lights would be on, and he'd bitch at me, and he'd go back upstairs, and then the second I fucking heard him hit the bed upstairs, I'd go around and turn all the fucking lights on again, and, whatever, Dad. If you're listening to this, sorry, but fuck you.
You know what we should really do, because it's Dad. You said he doesn't listen to this. I bet if we just made it, let's find out how he accesses things easiest. If we could just get him a direct link to this on his iPad that he stares at for 10 hours a day, he would listen to it every week. I guarantee it.
I'm sure it was. I think I've sent him a link before. I don't know.
No, I mean, every time there's a new one, he needs to get a direct SoundCloud link or wherever, because it's fucking, as well as come on now. Maybe not this one, maybe the next one.
We'll figure it out. I mean, since we're talking shit about him.
Yeah. Love you, Dad.
Love you, Dad.
You're the best.
All right.
When's the last time Stephen King wrote a book like it? And when I say that, I mean a monster. like
a tomb, like size of it, or a
or no, just like a monster novel, because you know you've got
The Outsider.
The Outsider. What the fuck is The Outsider?
The Outsider is. I've told you to read this book. It's really good.
I'm sure you have, Justin, but that doesn't mean I listen.
Yeah, because you got a lot of brain drugs.
Okay, yeah, brain drug. Okay, so apparently there's a Netflix movie coming out.
Yeah,
or
it's a Netflix movie coming out.
Yeah, when did this book get written? This was May last year. What the hell?
Yeah, it was a while ago. It was pretty recent. The overview of the book is that there's a very a pillar of the community baseball coach who is accused of a very violent and sexual murder of a child.
Yeah.
There is semen all over the body. There's chunks eaten out of the body. Like, it's a very visceral murder.
Okay. And remember, don't tell me too much, because that's very critical of these books to not. Okay, right. I just read the first line. Novel begins as a police procedural, but sifts to a horror novel employing two common genres of Stephen King. So, all right.
Like, the point is like they have everything on this guy to put him away forever, except he was not in town when the murder happened.
Oh.
Yeah. So there are all these witnesses that say that Coach what's his name, was like in town and had blood on him and all these weird things, but then like he can produce video of him in another town 4 hours away.
Fuck yeah, I'm gonna buy that shit and read it on my Kindle tonight, son.
It's really good because of
I
course
haven't read a Stephen King book in a fucking minute.
Because of course, like me reading the back of the book, I'm like, well, doppelganger, like because it's Stephen King, it's something weird.
It's a clone,
right?
it's a shapeshifter, it's something.
Yeah, it's something. But actually, it's even more involved than that, and it's super fun. Read it.
Okay, sweet. Okay. I will literally start that tonight.
Super
but
fun.
Anyway. Yeah.
All right. Woo! So It Chapter 2 is gonna be fucking bonkers. We have a new CW show in the chamber, Shay. We got a Batwoman coming up. Have you seen this trailer?
I saw. Well, I mean, are you talking about the thing where she's standing on the building and looking all sexy with her fake red hair and looks back at the camera?
Have you seen the trailer?
There's like I've just seen the clip between shows. Is there like an actual trailer?
Yeah, we're gonna watch it right now.
No, don't buy because it never looks good. I can never hear it. Don't fuck with it. I don't care. I'll watch it after we're done. I know CW shows. I know Batwoman. I know what I'm in for. But I will watch the trailer.
Right, so we got a Batwoman trailer because she was in the what was the last Crossworld thing? What was that? Elseworlds,
yes. And we are now building to motherfucking Crisis on Infinite Earths, which they have finally directly started talking about toward the last, because I've gotten caught up on Supergirl and the Flash, and oh my god, I never thought I'd say I'm mad somebody adapted the Red Sun storyline, but they did it in Supergirl and it was fucking dumb. But anyway,
yeah. I'm about 10 episodes behind on Supergirl, but they've already.
If you're talking the newest season, it does pick up, but it's definitely the least quality of all that shit they've got running right now.
Well, like there'll be a Supergirl helps some girl come out as also trans and superpowered.
It's so fucking ham-fisted.
Yeah, but then they'll cut to a picture of the Red Sun Supergirl.
Yeah.
Like the one that the Russians are growing or whatever. I haven't gotten to how they got her.
She is a basically an accidental cloney thing. They didn't make her. It's real stupid, but it's fine.
Okay, yeah.
It's real damn dumb.
So that's the thing. But the point is that in the Elseworlds we had a Batwoman who was Bruce Wayne's cousin, and it's something Rose. I can't remember her name. Yeah, something Rose. But everybody bitched because this actress is bi, and for some reason the people who bitched wanted her to be 100% lesbian. So
yeah.
I don't know where that's coming from, because when she was in Elseworlds, they were like, okay, so she's a gay character, you guys should be happy about that. And they're like, well, but she's not really gay because she does have sex with dudes. So that was the weirdest fucking complaint ever, that she wasn't lesbian enough.
Yeah.
So whatever. But so this trailer came out, and it's her basically coming into her own, realizing that her cousin was Batman, taking over the mantle of Batwoman, and just kicking ass. And it has been absolutely shit on by the basically the MAGA crowd, the Proud Boys, because they're like, why does this hero have to be a girl and lesbian, and why does she have to be gay?
Well, so I want to put this out there. and this is a very pragmatic and not exciting reason. The reason they have a Batwoman is because they legally are not allowed to have Batman. Like that's
Exactly.
why. That is exactly
Yeah,
why.
yeah.
That they DC, the way the DC license works out. If I understand this right, anything used in the movies cannot be used on the CW. And if that's true, like we may never get like the Joker, but CW tends to go with the goofy, over the top shit. So I'm hoping for some silly Clayface, some fucking Mr. Freeze,
Yeah, I'm fine
all
with
that
it.
goofy
Yeah.
shit. The fucking what was the guy that was the ventriloquist that had the gangster puppet hand? The fucking
Oh,
do you remember?
yeah.
Do you
I know what
remember?
you're talking about.
Do you remember
Yeah.
Captain Condiment? Because that was a guy that just shot mustard and mayonnaise at Batman, and that's a real fucking character too. So yeah, let's fuck it. They're all these shows are ridiculous, and I'll keep watching them.
Dial it
before
up
they
to
shit 'em out.
11.
Yeah, let's do it. Just get weird.
Yeah, get weird with it. But I like as soon as that trailer dropped, people were absolutely butthurt that you had a strong gay woman character that was gonna helm a show. Like they just lost it.
Well, I tell you what I like about it is the way I like how they do the wig and the part of the cowl, so she looks exactly like Bat. Well, because in the comics, I don't remember Batwoman and Batgirl are two different people, right?
Exactly, right.
And this and isn't Batwoman, that's Barbara Gordon, right?
Well, it's depending on what continuity you want.
Yeah,
to look
hold
at.
on, that's true. We are talking Batman comics here. It's all over the fucking
Yeah,
place.
it's all over the fucking place. So Batgirl and Batwoman can be the same character, but generally, what's considered Batgirl is Gordon's daughter.
And
Okay.
I mean, isn't even there just a point where like she just starts calling herself Batwoman because she's in her fucking 20s?
Exactly.
Like
yeah, she
because
gets
when
older.
because she's a teenager when she starts doing the shit, like just like
Exactly.
Robin, a little older than Robin if I remember correctly.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
that's why when the first Robin becomes Nightwing, he stops calling himself, Robin and shit like that. Yeah. So okay, so that's the thing. It's fun. I'm gonna watch the shit out of that. Are you? This is a question I didn't ask Adam because he's probably not into it. Have you been watching Westworld?
I've seen the first 2 episodes of Westworld, and my understanding is season 3 just wrapped up or is currently going.
Well, we have a trailer right now for season 3.
Oh, my understanding is that they're gonna do a Game of Thronesy thing. It's gonna be a while till the next one.
Well, we have a trailer. We have a trailer.
Yeah.
Well, we have a trailer for Westworld season 3.
Yeah.
Westworld season 1 was super fun. Westworld season 2 was super confusing. You really had to pay attention.
Yeah.
But Westworld season 3 is basically, this is the reason I bring it up because this is why I'm so excited, because it's basically Murderbot bitches, because Aaron Paul is going to be the main character of season 3. Breaking Bad's Jesse.
Yes, that's badass.
And it's basically going to, because in season 2, and quote unquote little bit of a spoiler, and at the end of season 2, the bots get out. And so Aaron Paul is going to be out in the quote unquote real world, and he's got his own shitty life to deal with, but he's going to encounter some of the main protagonists from Westworld, the bots. And basically, like, I watched the trailer. You should watch the trailer. Westworld is a great show. It's like Breaking Bad. You got to fucking pay attention.
Yeah.
Like,
So
you can't just be like,
I've only watched the first few episodes of those, but I don't know if you know this about me. I fucking love classic westerns. Watch a lot of those. I have not watched much of the show, but I'll tell you what I have watched. What I have right here is the original 1972 classic, fucking Michael Crichton's first movie he directed with Yul Brynner, Westworld. This shit is great.
It's actually one of the worst movies I've
It is fucking fantastic. It is so much a product of the 70s in terms of like Western films and sci-fi films. So much fun. Anyone who has watched the show should
no
go back.
explanation.
Well, no, what are you talking about? You've clearly not watched it. It is a vacation home, and then they go crazy. It's just like the fucking. You know what?
Yeah.
That episode of The Simpsons with Itchy and Scratchy Land is based off of Westworld. That's what it's based off of.
No, you're exactly correct.
It's so good. Fuck
But
him. Fuck him. You should all go watch the original '73 Westworld.
No,
Michael Crichton's first film.
Yeah. Well, Michael Crichton's writing work went way downhill after he decided he was a conservative or whatever. Have you ever read Prey?
Yeah, that was the last book he read before he wrote before he died, right?
Yeah, he should
I
have
think
died
so. It
before
wasn't
that.
good. The ending was terrible. I remember being so pissed off because the ending to Jurassic Park, Lost World, Sphere, And the Andromeda Strain, very good. And those were the 4 books I read back to back after I read, I was like, oh, this is my Crichton, he's great. And then I read Prey, and I was like, wow, the end of your book is a ATV with a Molotov into a kid. All right, I'm done with you now, Michael Crichton. I'm over it.
This is dumb. Yeah, you're dumb.
I did read Timeline. It's not as bad as the movie, but it's not that great of a book either.
Actually, I read Timeline in the same weekend I read Prey.
Yeah.
And
I'm over this. I'm over it, yeah.
I kind of wanted to drink my brain fresh. I was like, "Can I reboot myself? This is horrible."
But I will fucking stab anyone that has a single bad word to say about Jurassic Park and the Lost World.
Oh, those are great.
Yeah,
the 1973 original Westworld, that movie is okay. I want to say it like this, Shay. The reason that I'm gonna critique you and say that you're I don't know why you're turning your.
I'm having issues on my side. Don't worry about it.
You're probably naked, but the reason it's a problem is that if you watch a couple episodes of Westworld, you will find out that Westworld, the show, the HBO show, has a much more rich and diverse reason why the robots go crazy.
I'm not saying it's better than the show. Let's be clear here. I'm saying I fucking love that movie. And
the movie's entertaining.
I fucking love it. I'm not saying it's better than the show. The show is clearly it's better executed. Let's establish that.
Yeah, because that 1973 Michael Crichton movie, like
I also like the Mortal Kombat movies. That doesn't mean they're fucking good.
yeah. We'll get to
$500 sunglasses, asshole.
But there's a part in the 73 Westworld movie where like there's literally no distinction. All the robots just fucking go crazy. There's no reason why.
Well, I didn't know that actually. Yeah, it's basically in the movie. It's basically the idea that like systems controlled by man are destined to fail. It's that whole Michael Crichton man over nature bullshit that he does. Oh wow, there's a Dark Fate trailer. I haven't watched that yet. I'll check that out later.
Hold on, we're gonna watch it in a minute. No matter what you say.
Yeah.
But in Westworld, the difference and the dichotomy is that in Westworld, the HBO show, it's the man's attempt to create a sentient robot, like keeping fucking with their psyche, is what drives them insane.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay. No, it's absolutely fucking really great. Okay, moving on. Have you watched Chernobyl?
No, but as someone obsessed with it, the actual disaster itself, I've read a lot about it. I need to fucking watch. I've heard it's very good. I've heard there's some pretty graphic descriptions of what happens when you get irradiated.
I saw the trailer for it a couple weeks ago, and I was like, holy shit, that looks like the best disaster porn I've ever seen. And I watched the first. It's only 5 episodes. It's a 5-hour miniseries. The first episode is goddamn mesmerizing. It starts with a small, a young family in their, I'm gonna fuck up all the. It's like
is it in Russian and subtitled, or is it in English? I'm just curious.
No. So there's also just there's full disclosure here. We're gonna bounce around here a little bit. There's also a podcast. There's an accompanying podcast with one of the guys from NPR. Who sits down with the the writer and showrunner after each episode, and they discuss what parts of the show were kind of flubbed up for the show timeline and what parts were legitimately straight from what happened in Chernobyl. So one of the things that they talk about in the first episode of the podcast was how to deal with the Russian to English translation. So they talk about how when they were auditioning actors, that if they had them do a Russian accent, that it was very easy for the Russian accent to just slide into comic bullshit.
Yeah.
Without a lot of effort from the actor. And actually, while they watched them act, the actors would focus more on getting the fucking accent right than portraying the character. So they made a very early decision in production to just say, fuck it, we just won't hire Americans, because you just hire Eastern European actors and their accents would be close enough to just blend in the background. So that nobody really speaks Russian, but all of the let me rephrase that. If it's a character to character talking, they just speak English with a Eastern European accent, and the point was is like because that's what they hear in their head, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. But if there's any announcement or if there's any like a news broadcast where if as long as it's not character talking to character, then it's all in Russian with subtitles.
I mean, I would be okay with watching it all in Russian, but I mean that's nobody's watching Chernobyl for the authenticity of the accent. Like that's not.
Yeah, the accent's not the problem.
Man, did you ever play that game, Stalker: Shadows of Chernobyl?
Heck yeah,
Fuck,
it was good.
It was so good. Anyway.
Yeah. So, but anyway, the opening like 40 seconds is like just this woman getting up to go take a piss, and like she walks by a bay window and she takes a piss, and as she's walking out of the bathroom, you just see the explosion, and then you see, and Chernobyl's in the far background. You see the explosion, and then you see the very vertical, it's almost like a spotlight. It's just this vertical shine up where the radiation is literally ionizing the air up into the atmosphere. And then like 20 seconds later, the whole room shakes and she's like, what the fuck was that? And it is graphic as fuck. It is jarring as fuck. It is currently right now the highest rated TV show ever. It just passed, like just beat all the
I will have to check that noise out.
Yeah.
Man.
I alternate between you've got to be fucking shitting me to you are absolutely shitting me. This cannot have been how this went.
Oh, dude.
Like,
if you start looking into like, and I'm sure the show has to like, that shit is so fucked. And like, and I will say this right now, even with that in mind, I am still a proponent of nuclear power. You just need to do it better. Because Chernobyl's a great example, one of those things where, like, same thing with Fukushima, where you say, you shouldn't put your plant there, or you shouldn't use this design because it's going to get fucked, and then it gets fucked, and someone's like, we told you that was going to happen. Like, that's...
right.
Yeah, it's all about the safety, but no, it's interesting.
Chernobyl was one of the only plants, or I'm sorry, the Chernobyl power plant, there were 4 of them, actually. There was 4 reactors. Number 4 is the one that blew up.
Yep.
Everybody should know that while this entire series was going on for the least like 10 days, the other 3 reactors were being manned by people who are dead or who were completely killed by this reactor. Like the other 3 reactors that were a couple hundred yards away were being completely manned and operated at the entire fucking time this was happening, because the way the Soviet Union worked is they depended on that power. There was no turning off the switch just because, I don't know, 15,000 people were going to die. And to Shay, to your point,
God, I wrote a Chernobyl science paper in 9th grade.
Yeah.
Fuck. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry. Woo!
One of the really interesting quotes that I read and through Wikipedia and all this, and that was parroted on the show, was that, and it was reiterated in the podcast. The podcast is actually really good. Really, really good. Is that this accident could have only happened in the Soviet Union, and only the Soviet Union was equipped to handle it, because nowhere else in the world would they have just thrown so many resources and bodies at it.
Yeah, blinking. Like, hey, y'all are gonna die now. Go in there. Like, yeah, like that's
there were volunteers to go down into the heart of the reactor and drain out the water supplies. They knew they'd be dead in 10 days. Miners came in to dig a hole to the base of the reactor to install a heat exchanger. They knew they would likely die within several years.
Have you watched the whole thing?
There's only 3 episodes released right now, so there's 2 more.
I just want to know if they talk about the elephant's foot, because that shit's crazy.
Yeah, well, they're getting there. They're basically talking about it right now, and one of the I have to talk about this because it's so goddamn interesting. It's hilarious. It's gallows humor hilarious, And so when you watch the first episode with all of the discussion in the control room, are like, all right, well, like people are coming in the control room, they're like, hey, the core's gone. And they're like, you're clearly delirious. There's no way the core's gone. That can't have happened. Somebody sedate this man.
Yeah.
But like after so many people come in and so they finally tell. Yeah, they finally tell one guy, it's like, we need you to go to the roof. So there's like the head of nuclear power in the Soviet Union or whatever. He's like the head of that country. I'm sorry, that city-state. It's like, we need you to go to the roof, look down on the reactor, tell us that it's not blown. Just humor this dumbass. And he says no.
Yeah.
And they said, you're going to go and do it.
I've read. We talked about this, right? Is this where he like looks back and his face is burned from the radiation?
So he goes up to the roof. He walks out on the roof. There's a guard there, and he walks to the edge of the roof because he knows he's dead already. Like what? Like if the core is not open, then okay, he'll look down and he'll be okay. If the core is open, he's already dead. So he literally walks to the edge, glances down, comes back, and when he gets to the door, his entire face is red and blistered. Like it's so fucking. Oh god, it's so just jarring. You can't. It's. I kind of like. I thought it would be a great show. I did not know it'd be as highly. The critics said rated as high as it was.
Yeah.
Watching 3 episodes, I totally get it. It's
that's going to be one I have to burn through because, while I have a job interview tomorrow, I still have plenty of free time. So that's another show to watch.
It's the shit.
I'll finish up Umbrella Academy, then I'll. Yeah.
That's also fun too. I have a question for you. Are you watching Krypton? Is that ABC? What the hell?
Sci-fi and no.
Okay. No. I have not watched it either because for the same reason that I don't watch what is it, Gotham? Because I don't understand a Batman show without Batman.
Here's the thing about Gotham. I've, as of so far, refused to watch it for that exact reason. And I get it; they can't use Batman legally, whatever. But everyone I talk to who's into comics that watches Gotham says it's solid. They're like, once you get past the no Batman thing, and I guess the thing that they do with Gotham that I could make sense with is that instead of relying on like Batman as the thing, like the big deal is the villains. So it's like, okay, you're going to get a lot of villain time with like Mr. Freeze and the Joker and the Catwoman, all this shit. And it's so they basically just, since they can't have Batman, they use that screen time that would be Batman time to have other recognizable characters. Like the design they use for Mr. Freeze is really fucking cool. But the other side of that is the later seasons have these weird screenshots of like teenage Bruce Wayne with a trench coat, like pretend not Batman, but he is, and it's just like,
yeah,
I don't care.
I can kind of get behind the development.
I want to throw this out there just for the audience. I watched all of Smallville and will probably pay for it with some sort of tumor late in life. So like I can watch anything.
Yeah.
But I just haven't watched Gotham.
What was it like 13 seasons until he finally flew?
No, he never actually flies. No. That's the whole thing. He never actually flies, and they fuck up his backstory so hard. So Clark never flies and never has the superpowers you expect him to. He's fast, he can jump, he's strong. I think he might have heat vision or like some shit, I don't remember. But
he's got warm vision.
Yeah, he's got warm vision. He's like making cheeseburgers and shit warmer and stuff. But what he does do is, and they mess this up too, I forget what it is. I think it's one of the colors of kryptonite. They change the effect. They change it to black kryptonite. I think it's black kryptonite. So if he gets exposed to black kryptonite,
that's racist.
He becomes, and this is so not right. He becomes Kal-El, which is an evil Kryptonian sent to Earth to conquer. So it's like a Kal-El versus Clark thing, and maybe they retcon that later. I don't think they ever did. It's so dumb. I recently watched the episode with Doomsday in it.
I watched that episode with Doomsday in it because I heard that they did a Doomsday.
Because it's that like random dude that gets injected with a Kryptonian serum and turns into Doomsday, and it's real fucking stupid.
Yeah, I didn't get an erection for a week after that.
And the chick that plays the blonde smart girl was the sex cult person now. You know what I'm talking about? The lead woman in that. I forget. Yeah, she's got arrested for selling people into sex slavery.
Yeah. Like I can totally get behind the idea that using the show Gotham, because you're not technically and legally allowed to introduce a Batman. I understand using that as just turn the crank, build a universe.
Doesn't piss me off any less.
Yeah, well, no, it doesn't.
Like the Joker doesn't exist without Batman. That's like Two-Face doesn't exist. So many of Batman's villains. One of the key things about Batman is like he makes his own villains, and the argument is like, well, if you'd never put the cape and cowl on, we'd never have all these crazy motherfuckers running around. You know what I mean? But by taking Batman out of the equation, just ruins it.
Yeah, what they're doing is they're flipping the coin, Shays. They're saying that Batman was created, or I'm sorry, Bruce Wayne developed a Batman to, fight this growing world of criminals, where it's really, if anybody's ever read any of the comics, was this exact opposite of that. These villains were created because of Batman's, device as a
and keep that in mind. It's like these things like with let's talk about the Killing Joke. Like Batman started out just fighting like thugs and robbers and street gangs, and then like he goes to the chemical plant, stops the robbery, what's his face falls in the vat, becomes the Joker. Same thing with Mr. Freeze. He's trying to stop a break-in at a cryo lab, and somehow in that process Victor Freeze falls into the cryo vat. And then
Two-Face.
I think Two-Face is similar too. Harvey Dent's doing something, Batman shows up on an unrelated topic, and in the process he becomes Two-Face. That theme comes over and over and over. And then later on, because he's been around, I don't remember why Poison Ivy she's fucking there, and I think Catwoman was a burglar unrelated to him, and it's
Killer Croc has no
what a weird villain,
Yeah, Batman has no ties into Killer Croc's origins.
But once you establish a handful of villains, it's fine. You can just start throwing shit in there. It's fine.
Bane,
Clayface. Clayface had nothing to do with Batman. Pretty sure the comic King didn't.
Yeah. No, I get it. But to turn the page, Krypton is apparently a show on Krypton where clearly you're not going to have a Superman because it's a red sun. So, my entire point of not watching that was, I don't watch Gotham because I don't watch a Batman show without Batman. Why the fuck am I going to watch a Superman show without Superman?
Dumb.
But
the
in the course of that...
very last scene of Smallville is, a pod opening with the super suit in it, and then the credits roll. And then there's a comic book that follows up this TV series where he is Superman, and it's a more traditional Superman Lex Luthor shit.
Well, actually, there's been a lot of comics.
Well, I'm saying specifically, they draw Superman to look like the actor. Shut up, Justin.
Yeah. But, Krypton has apparently done the same thing where you've got all the Superman villains but no Superman. But if you look at the reproductions of Doomsday and, Brainiac, it's they look so much fucking better than anything that ever came out of Gotham, and they've announced that the first episode of season 2 is gonna have Lobo in it, and once you got Lobo in it and he's cutting his own arm off just for fun, I'm game. I don't really understand how.
I'm looking at pictures of Doomsday from this trailer, and that is fucking sick.
Yeah,
he looks just like he should. I have to check this out.
I was gonna ask you because I thought you'd followed it, and I mean,
with all the garbage I watch, you'd think so, but
right, and me too.
Brainiac looks fucking sweet.
I know. Google Lobo.
Krypton, Lobo. Lobo was one of those characters I've always wanted to see come up in a fucking movie. Oh, that is so badass.
Yeah.
Yes, he looks so great. That's amazing.
Yeah. So,
Face
all right.
biker.
So when we're done with this podcast, it's already gone over 2 hours.
Yeah, we'll go.
I'm gonna go downstairs, pour myself a rum and coke, and I'm watching Krypton episode 1. I'm getting into this.
I'm trying to think. I wonder, where can I watch it? Do I have to be able to? Is it just it's DC Universe? Wait a minute, Krypton is a DC Universe thing.
Is it?
I thought it was. Oh no, wait. I think. Hold on, Sci-Fi. It's also on Sci-Fi. Yeah. Oh, it's probably on both. Honestly.
All right.
Yeah. So we got one. What is it? One season so far?
Yeah.
10 episodes. All right. Yeah. Phantom Zone is an episode. Yeah, that's cool. All right, I'm into it.
All right. So, last but not least, let's wrap this up.
Yep.
Shay, we have a Dark Fate trailer.
Yeah, I have not watched it yet.
Okay, I'm sharing screen sound.
Boy, I bet that doesn't work.
Well, I mean, you just got to give it a minute to catch up here.
I could just watch it.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Yeah.
All right. Turn it up.
2 days ago, I had this nice, simple life. And now it's a nightmare.
Y'all are just let's watch this.
What's that?
I'm talking to the audience. They just have to watch it. Listen to it.
You gotta watch it. So you got a Terminator apparently driving a bulldozer.
I'm into that.
Now this is a great. Okay, so you got the what looks like a Terminator, blonde chick, throwing rebar. Now this is a new. This is a new thing. So this is the separation of the liquid metal and the endoskeleton. They operate
that's
independently.
Cool. That effect wasn't very good, but that's okay.
Yeah. So we've got two sides of this. So you got two Terminators that join.
Basically, imagine a normal endoskeleton that has the liquid endoskeleton coming off
Yeah.
of it at will.
And then we got
Linda Hamilton's back. Woo! Man, I have not seen Terminator 2 in so long.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and here's a question for you, Justin. How many times have you watched T2 versus T1?
I probably watched a lot of them.
I think I've seen Terminator 1 maybe twice.
I've seen it several times because what I'll do is at the gym when I'm running out of shit to watch, I'll just run through the Terminator franchise. I'll start with Terminator 1, then of course you watch Terminator 2 and you go, oh my god, how is this movie this great? And then, yeah. So one of the things I'd like to point out is that, so you got this very human looking soldier from the future protecting the girl. You got the endoskeleton and the liquid metal separating to form two. Okay. Did you catch that?
No.
She asks Sarah Connor who she is.
Who are you?
And Sarah Connor gives her a bitch please.
Yeah, bitch,
My
please.
name is Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
You
I
sound
just,
like
man,
you.
yeah, I can't hear any of this. It cuts in and out. It's all shitty and
Oh.
dumb. But I'll just watch it later. But it looks fucking sweet.
Yeah, so
Who's doing this? Who's making this movie?
it's James Cameron.
Care what happens
Is it him?
Yeah.
because I was her.
So the tall blonde chick is actually human.
First. Nope, this is directed by Tim Miller. Fucking the same guy doing the Deadpool. That's right. I think we even talked about this. So
Yeah.
that's cool.
How do we win?
Just forget that's Tim Miller.
We win.
I mean, he understands source material. Like, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. And at the very least, it looks like it's going to be a really sweet action movie with a bunch of robots beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah. So we've got a couple things. Okay, first of all, like right off the bat, this is a direct sequel to Terminator 2.
It doesn't this one pretend like, I forget, does it ignore all the other ones, or did T3 happen? None of the other ones have happened. Okay.
There was Terminator 1, there was Terminator 2, and then this movie.
Okay.
So what James Cameron is doing as executive producer is ignoring all the other T3, Genesis, what the fuck's the other one? Salvation. All those movies didn't happen. And
That's
you
for
know
the
why
best.
we can do that? And you know why we can do that, Shay? Time travel.
Time travel. Oh,
Because-
dude, that's what makes Endgame so good.
Exactly. When you're dealing with time travel, you can reset your entire fucking world by going back 30 seconds further than you did the first time. And then you can just change whatever the fuck you want to change, and you're good to go. One of the there's several tropes here that I think are fun and different. One, we're bringing back Arnold Schwarzenegger and Lionel Hamilton. So
Dude,
that's
and
awesome.
Arnold Schwarzenegger just looks so badass in this movie.
Yeah, he just looks grizzled and old. Lionel Hamilton looks grizzled and old, which is, it's not, yeah, I'm not saying I'm not busted on their appearances, but Lionel Hamilton is 62 and Arnold fucking Schwarzenegger is 71, so fucking God bless them for doing this. We have combined, like, if we're skipping over Terminator Genesis, if you remember in Terminator Genesis, they did not have the liquid polymetal, whatever bullshit they had in Terminator 2. But it was an endoskeleton like covered with nanites.
There's
which
some
is
shit, and
one of
they they convert organic flesh into like mechanical cells. It's some real plot hole spackle. It's real dumb.
It's real dumb, and that was right about the time that movie was released. That every fucking movie you watched was about nanites. So like everything was nanotech. So like you would blow up a thing, and then it would come together like sand because it was all nanites. And I was like, this is getting so lame. But we've already introduced the idea of a hard endoskeleton at the bottom, and then a nanite liquid whatever around it. That was fun. Actually, at the end of Genesis, you'll remember that the endoskeleton that was the original Terminator that Arnold played in that movie was then surrounded by a liquid shell.
Yeah.
So so we're reintroducing that idea, but we've never introduced the idea that the liquid shell around the endoskeleton can operate independently of the endoskeleton.
I mean, that makes sense, I guess. I'm with it. That's fine.
Fuck it, I'll watch it. We're also introducing the idea that the protector of the target of the Terminator is not a Terminator, but a literally augmented human.
That's cool. Yeah.
So she apparently, like, I don't know if you paid attention, but she has like kind of a honeycomb of lattice underneath her skin that protects her. You know, so that's the thing. I will watch the absolute shit out of this movie. I would recommend everybody else, if you want to get into the Terminator franchise, do a deep dive in Dark Horse's Terminator comics. They are fantastic.
Yeah, I've read some of those, but not a bunch.
Yeah, the most recent one was called. Have we talked about Sector War? Have I told you about Sector War?
No.
So there's a comic. It's a you know these are not long arcs for Dark Horse. They're just like 4 or 5 shots at 4 or 5 comics shot in the dark, and they just tell a story. But this last one was really fun. It was called Sector War. It's about just a regular B cop who gets targeted by a Terminator. So she's just on her beat, and she sees a guy being an asshole. She tries to arrest him, and he throws her through a window, and she's like, "Holy shit!" And so it starts this like couple days long trek of her running through downtown Los Angeles trying to get away from this guy, and throwing whatever she can at him, and of course he's just shrugging it off until the point where she just runs into a drug den. She's like, "Listen, I will look the other way on whatever the fuck you guys want to do for the next however many years. I will destroy some evidence if you will just fucking stop whatever the fuck is behind me."
Yeah.
And so you got this drug gang Lily like throwing whatever they got at him, and of course they don't win.
No.
She ends up like pinning it with a bulldozer in the bottom of the ocean, and she is recovering. Like, she goes into work the next day basically to resign, saying like, "Okay, I can't fucking do this anymore." And she sees on the news about the attacks of a Sarah Connor in L.A. And she is so in the timeline of Terminator, they sent a Terminator at this woman before they sent one at Sarah Connor, and so she knows what's going on. So she goes to find Sarah Connor and try to help her. It's so much fun because you can fuck with this timeline however you want.
Yeah, time travel's the shit, man. That's what's great about it.
Yeah.
When did this? This is fairly new.
Which one?
Sector War.
Oh yeah. It just wrapped up like.
Yeah,
last
this
week
is not.
or
Yeah, this
last
is
month.
not. Okay, cool.
Yeah. No, it's fun. Like, Dark Horse is really knocking out of the park as far as the Terminator franchise goes. So, actually, they're kicking the shit out of the Alien franchise too. If you're bored and want to read some Alien,
I always want to read Alien comics, dude.
Yeah. Okay. Got anything else you want to say, Shay?
Nah, dude, not really. I mean, I could always say some more stupid shit, but I'm not gonna.
Alrighty. Well, on that note, because we can always listen to Shay say stupid shit.
Always.
Shay and I are, of course, just waiting for Godzilla King of Monsters.
Oh, that was by the night. I have 6. Went out and I got drunk and I bought 6 tickets to see King of Monsters for my friends and I in IMAX. And I could not be fucking more pumped for that shit.
Yeah. It is not my wedding anniversary that day, but if it was, I would look at Rachel and say, "I hope you want to go see Godzilla today," because that's what we're doing.
Apparently, the early reviews have said it's and this doesn't mean anything to people who aren't super familiar with the Japanese series, but in the 90s there was a director, it's referred to as the Hesse series, and in the 60s and 70s they were more about saving the earth, and they were movies from the 60s and 70s, so you can imagine what they were like if you haven't seen them. But the Hesse series is all about over the top effects, giant monsters, silly powers, time travel, robots, cyborgs, aliens, all kinds of dumb shit. So and that's apparently what this is like. Everyone's like, if you've seen these Japanese movies made between like 1989 and 1995, this is the movie for you. So I am fucking pumped.
Yeah, I can't wait. Like I said, Rachel and I have to check off Booksmart, John Wick 3, and then Brightburn, and then of course the next weekend would be Godzilla.
Oh, every day.
So,
yeah, I can't wait to see that shit.
Yeah, Godzilla all day. All right, so like we say every fucking time, and we fucking mean it every time. We hope you enjoy this podcast. Shay and I enjoy the fuck out of doing it. Worst case scenario, I get to talk to my little brother a little bit, have some beers, and shoot the shit. Best case scenario, we hope you learned something. You maybe learn something about us. Probably not.
Yeah, even if you didn't, I don't really care.
Yeah. We're gonna keep doing it regardless.
Yeah,
we're gonna keep doing it. Hit us up on the Twitter and the Facebook. It's both. It's at Woodscast7076. I'm sorry. Blech. At Woodscast1776 in both Twitter and Facebook, because fuck Alex Jones and everything he does. And of course, shoot us an email. If you shoot us an email, I guarantee we will answer it the best we can at thewoodscast1776@gmail.com. So this is the point where I ask Shay to say goodbye to all the nice people.
Toodles.